Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Of Nevada Senator Harry Reid, and we are going to be covering that with a wonderful panel that we have put together tonight. Sinead Whelehan was supposed to be our guest. She has joined our panel, but we have rescheduled her for January 13th, so that way we're going to get a full show in with her as well. Before we bring in our panel, let's say hello to everyone in our chat room so far tonight. Race fan in the gold medal position, taking home a silver is Mr. Looks-A-Lot. Grand Paul Holland with a bronze. Ghost Dragon, how you doing? Wreaking Havoc, a.k.a. Big John Carty there. He is going to sign autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Gorgeous Cosmic Floor, nice to see you back. Nicola, thanks for coming on in. As we have Zune and the stunning Lala B has returned. And Gongs YouTube, welcome to our channel for the first time in our chat room. We appreciate you tuning us in. Thank you so much. Andrew, hope your trucking is going well, buddy. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Mennonite Abe, Sun Saver, Luscious Jewels. Good to see you all as we continue on with the roll call here tonight on the big show. Gorgeous Larry, nice to see you. And there's James Smith, everyone. James Smith will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio. Philip Baca, nice to have you here. Hi, Wayland. How are you? Nice to see you. And who else do we have here? Wes H. Good to have you back. Major Lee, thanks for coming on in. And we continue on with the roll call. Hi, Nikki, our gorgeous psychic from Seattle. And who else is here so far? We have Raven is Ryan. Nice to have you here. And we continue on with Nightmare, Jurassic Joey. Thanks for coming on in. Spooky Morales and your trumpet. Good to have you here. Excuse me. The stunning Samantha Hazelwood Gray, Solder Warden. Nice to see you guys. Thank you for joining us. Andrew Harbinson, welcome back. Nice to have you back. Vash the Impaler, nice to see you. And there's Fabster and Mr. Cowley. Welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Appreciate you. Nightmare, good to see you, man. And thank you for joining us as well. Richard Elmore, always a pleasure to have you here. Mama Susan, Peppa H, good to see you. Enzo, welcome back. Austin Kovacs, welcome to SOR chat. And we continue on. Jay Breezy, Avi M, how are you? The gorgeous Avi May, nice to see you. Stunning Pam McSee, the lovely Jenny girl. Don't forget about Vegas, Jenny. You said you were coming April 22nd to 24th, the big SOR party there. Tom King, welcome back, my friend. How are you? Rob Heatherly, good to see you, buddy. And Sensational Sherry, Paradigma Theories, welcome to our channel. How are you? Welcome. And Roy the Boy, thanks for coming on in. Greg O'Brien, nice to see you. Bigfoot Anonymous, how are you? Gorgeous Jan, nice to see you. The lovely and talented Gloria from Casual Conversation. Science Bob, nice to have you here. Brown Dot Flop, how are you, man? Thank you for joining us. We're starting the radio side now. And now we're getting ready here. Downshift, thanks for coming on in. Double Tim, $5,900. Good to have you guys here. Excalibur, Blue Hot Fuzz, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. Triple Ack, nice to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. I may not make it, guys. Too much information. Thanks for joining us. And Mandingo, nice to see you back. The gorgeous Melissa Nicole. Stunning Jenny, how are you? Project Blue Book, nice to see you. Willow Trees, thanks for coming on in. And Daryl Zernick, welcome back. And who else do we have here? 405er, good to see you, buddy. And we are about 40 seconds away from launch. Troy SR71, thank you for joining us. Thin Lizzie Borden, looking gorgeous tonight. Thank you for your work on our TikTok account. You're doing awesome. Doug Shelby, welcome to the channel. And Mr. Gray Owl, good to see you back. And we got 30 seconds here before we launch. We got a great panel for you tonight. Nose on Scent, thank you for joining us. And if I'm missing you, I apologize. But we're going to get going here tonight. There's Cherry Pepsi Mike and his piano key tie. Nice to have you here. Remember, everyone, the super chat is open. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. And tonight, we pay tribute to late Senator Harry Reid. Do us a favor. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show and our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old baby the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A sad moment in the UFO world has happened as former Democratic Senate leader Harry Reid of Nevada has passed away at the age of 82. Now, we all know he has been battling cancer for a long time, and you know what? That never stopped his work from pushing the UFO picture forward. Over the last number of years, Mr. Reid has been at the forefront of all of the big news surrounding UFOs, from the To the Stars Academy to the potential of disclosure that we see today. He was working behind the scenes diligently as a man of respect in Washington, D.C., on both sides of the ledger when it came to the subject of the UAP phenomena. Tonight, we pay tribute to Senator Harry Reid, and we have a wonderful panel for all of you tonight. We have Science Bob McGwier. We have Sinead Whelehan, who is supposed to be our original guest tonight, but we have rescheduled Sinead for January 13th, where she will come on. We have John Hudson from the Unbiased UFO Report, from Disclosure Tonight, Thomas Fessler, and, of course, Danny Silva from the Silva Record. Now, we could see one or two more people coming on in tonight to be a part of this panel, but let's just get right to it. And I'm going to start off with an opening comment from one of Senator Harry Reid's closest friends, and that would be KLAS television reporter out of Las Vegas, investigative journalist extraordinaire George Knapp. Now, Mr. Knapp gives this statement exclusively to Spaced Out Radio. He says, without Harry Reid's effort, there would be no OSAP, no $22 million for UFO research, no Tic Tac investigation, no ATIP, no front page story in the New York Times. Several people contributed to the immense progress the UAP UFO topic has made in the last few years, but all of it traces back to Senator Reid. I'm crushed by the news of his death, even though it's not entirely a surprise, but I'm glad to know he lived long enough to see a brand new UFO investigation get signed into law by the president. We also have a statement, a quick one from Luis Elizondo here regarding the passing of Harry Reid. I've been asked to let his people have a day to make announcements. I will respect their wishes. I'm pretty torn up over this latest news. Now, thank you to both Luis Elizondo and Mr. George Knapp for making statements towards Spaced Out Radio regarding this topic tonight. Danny Silva, I want to start with you because it's been a while since we had you on the air, if you wouldn't mind, and I'll get you to unmute your mic here. But for you, working hand in hand over the last number of years with getting to know a lot of people put the focus on the To the Stars Academy. They put the focus on Luis Elizondo and Chris Mellon. But as you studied up on this field, how important was Harry Reid to the people who may not know how deep this subject goes within the confines of Washington, D.C.?
Oh, sorry about that. It was everything. I mean, it was exactly what George just said in that statement. I mean, I don't know if anything would have been here right now without Harry Reid. I wouldn't be, because I wouldn't be here without the New York Times article, and the New York Times article wouldn't have been there without ATIP and OSAP, and it was just this huge snowball effect of everything that he did, and he's been doing it for decades, behind the scenes, and I don't know. I fail to see how any of the progress that we've made right now would be here without Harry Reid. And it's definitely a sad day for the community. He did live a long life, and he accomplished historic things. He got to see the airport named after him in Las Vegas. He got to see the new legislation. And despite politics, Democrats, Republicans, anything like that, the UFO community can certainly appreciate what he's done. And
I got to drop out for a second to take this phone call. Okay.
Go ahead, Danny. Sorry.
It's a huge loss, and it's a historic person. With that, I don't know. I don't think anything would be here right now without Harry Reid.
And I would agree with you on that. And, love him or hate him, Harry Reid was one of those people that polarized the UFO community. There are very few who had. He never really spoke directly to the UFO community, but he was a prime player in everything. Thomas Fessler, I want to bring you in here from Disclosure Tonight regarding the portrayal of Harry Reid, because, he was a little bit enigmatic when it came to the UFO public. We knew his name, we knew his position, we knew who he was, but he never really addressed the community. It wasn't about the community. It was about the United States of America and the defense of the United States. I mean, a lot of people in the UFO community have begrudged this fine gentleman, but today, we look at it as an entirely different aspect of what he did do to help bring this subject to the limelight.
He saw the importance of it, Dave. He recognized it from a personal standpoint, maybe from a theological or religious standpoint, but he understood the importance of what it's about. He understood of how much we really needed to get into going and actually make it happen. And if it wasn't for him meeting with James Lakatsky, none of this stuff we had talked about just now, ATIP, OSAP, any of that stuff, Elizondo, Mellon, any of those things would ever be happen. The majority of the ufology would still be left to a lot of the people in speculation and just, bringing things out that they think need to be brought out. But he was very understated. He was very behind the scenes. And the only time he did come out of the scenes was when we had stuff like the DOD, Susan going and literally trying to say Lou Elizondo didn't hold the role, and he actually got pretty upset and angry about it. And he had a nice letter saying, no, he did. And here's what he did. And here's what it's about. So, he had it's something that he had a personal mission that he was doing on it, that he was going forward. And, I feel personally indebted to him because, Danny was just saying, we wouldn't be anywhere without Harry for what he gave to the citizens of America as his role in, he was in the House of Representatives. I mean, heck, he was a lieutenant governor in Vegas, in Nevada. He was in the House of Representatives. He was in the Senate. Not only that, he was the one of the leaders in the Senate. And behind the scenes, he made so much stuff happen. So, for a person who had so many things going, this was his mission. I think it was his most important thing. And the most thing I'm actually really happy about is he actually, hopefully, got to see the passing of the National Defense Authorization Act for 2022, which had the most revolutionary, historic UAP legislation in history get passed.
Science Bob McGwier, Dr. Bob McGwier, you are someone who has followed this subject from both behind the scenes in Washington, D.C., as a former, scientist with Virginia Tech University, as well as the CIA. And you have followed the career of Harry Reid for a long, long time, because I know this subject of UFOs goes way back to when you first learned about the Bob Lazar story and everything along those lines. What kind of impact does a man like Harry Reid have in Washington, D.C. when he spoke?
Okay, so we know from the Skinwalker at the Pentagon book that Harry Reid was talked into attending NIDS meetings that were, Bob Bigelow's effort. And he went and attended these meetings, and he saw all of these unbelievably well-known and a lot of unknown scientists, people from the military. And he said, this stuff is not kooky. I need to check into this. And so once that happened, and he and Lakatsky felt they could not meet at DIA, and they could not meet in the Senate Majority Leader's office. So they met in Harry Reid's home, and they set up OSAP and ATIP. I think we all know, so I'll just say it out loud. I'll say the quiet part out loud. They put together a contract offer. It was open to the public, but it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, open to the public. Bigelow set up Bass 4 weeks before the contract was let out, and they had everyone who wanted to bid had 2 weeks to bid. Guess who the only one that bid was? Okay, so look, this happens all the time. I'm not going to gig him for that, because we got those fantastic studies, which are now coming out from DIA, with people on them like Eric Davis and others that many know. And we know that Harry Reid went to Ted Stevens, who's a Republican senator from Alaska, and Inouye, who was a Democratic senator from Hawaii. And the three of them together agreed that they would go and get $20-something million in a fund they had control of. And they funded OSAP. Later on, Harry Reid tried to get OSAP access to all the core secrets. Harry Reid did this on his own, tried to get them access to the core secrets. So he wrote a letter to the entity in the Pentagon that controls SAPs. And it said, I want to have ATIP, which is the first place it was named, was in that letter, given access to all these deep, dark secrets so they can do the work they've been tasked to do. Well, that ultimately didn't work, but we, as everyone here has now said, and I'm giving you really dirty details all the way down the bottom of it, of how he engineered, with being pushed and prodded by Knapp and Bigelow, all of this stuff that we have seen in the last few years. I mean, it's amazing. He is at the heart of it, and he got there with encouragement from his Nevadan friends, Bigelow and Knapp. And we need to thank all three of them, because there would be no President Biden signing the NDAA. And everybody out there who is an American citizen, call your congressman and tell them this office needs budget. The NDAA is a policy document. Some things get set up, but the work that's required, the reverse engineering, all of the sensor fusion, all of this other stuff that's actually going to help us figure out what the bejesus is going on, that requires serious funding. call your Congress critter and have them vote for funding for this office. And it needs to be a lot of money. I mean, in excess of $1 billion, because that's going to be like the minimum to do all this sensor fusion, all the underwater microphones and the in-orbit IR sensors and these buoys that are on top of the ocean and so forth. And all of these sensors need to be fused so that we can figure out what's going on. We can learn how these things work. And in addition to all of that, it needs funding so that we can do the reverse engineering, which is mandated by the NDAA. That can't be done with a wish and a prayer. It's got to have a ton of money behind it. Call your congressman and encourage them to support money for this new office, which is enabled by the NDAA. Harry Reid, with his friends in Nevada, set all this up.
Sinead Whelehan, I want to bring you in here because you're the experiencer of the group along with Thomas and myself, but you're also, like me, Canadian, and we're looking at this from a perspective north of us. You know, we all as experiencers want to know the big question, why me? What is going on? But there is perspective to this entire story, and that is there is a political side to this, which, you know, we haven't seen the Canadian government speak out about just yet as much as we would like to, but we've been keeping our eyes on what's going on south of the border to our American brothers and sisters who are dealing with this topic as a hot button issue. When you think of Senator Harry Reid and what has gone on through, you know, his career in really trying over the last 32 years to bring ufology, UFOs, UAP, whatever acronym you want to call them, to the forefront. How has this impacted you and your research for you?
Well, his tenacity. I mean, his tenacity is just absolutely extraordinary on multiple levels. You know, he was somebody who came from a literally dirt poor background. I mean, dirt poor, and I mean that when I say literally. He grew up in a shack until he was in high school. It had no running water, no hot water. He didn't have a bathroom, no toilet. You know, I mean, this is a man who came from absolutely nothing and had an extraordinary rise all the way through his career, became known from beginning to end for his tenacity, you know, his strength. He was a bulldog. He was also a boxer for a long time. And the man who inspired him to go into politics and the man who inspired him to use his character as an advantage in politics and as an advantage in, you know, obtaining power to be able to make change happen. That man was a boxing coach and a teacher of his, and took him under his wing and, you know, really mentored him into becoming the man that he later became in politics. But he's not somebody who's an experiencer. I mean, you referenced the fact that I am, and Tom, it's good to know that you are as well, and Dave is, of course. You know, he was not an experiencer. He's a man who came into ufology somewhat by accident. He was invited to an event where he was given access to really extraordinary information, and he had never heard anything like this before and was absolutely fascinated. And the way that it was delivered to him was not, you know, there are aliens. It was, there's this extraordinary engineering. There's this, you know, chemical makeup that we can't identify. There's, you know, power sources that we can't identify, that we've never seen before, that we can't understand. He was fascinated by the mechanism of what was going on. He was somebody who was intrigued by the science of it. So, you know, he was somebody who may not have come in with the personal lived experience, but as somebody who came from, as I said, literally a dirt poor beginning, was a boxer, and then became known as somebody who was a fighter in politics, you know, to kind of use that word in a different way. He was known for starting fights many times, but also finishing them. You know, he's not someone who just wanted to provoke. He's someone who wanted to stir up some trouble for a purpose. He wanted to make people uncomfortable for a purpose. And that purpose was for the benefit of the American public. I mean, he was a very caring man. He was an absolute bulldog. And he was known, this is a really cool story in case anybody doesn't know this. He's actually a fictionalized character in the casino movie, the Las Vegas movie Casino. And this comes from two stories that happened when he was the chairman of, I think, the Gaming Commission in Nevada back in the 70s. He was a guy who just would not take this mafia business. You know, he had these mafia guys coming up and trying to get him to do stuff. so they could do their, their dirty business, let's say, behind the scenes without getting in any trouble. And of course, they're running the place. They started Las Vegas, the mobsters, the mafia. So they're running the place. And in comes this guy. First time that one of these made men, one of the top guys comes in to have a conversation with him. This guy says to him, hey, I'll give you $12,000 if you do such and such. And Harry Reid became so incensed at this offer. He did not see this as a positive thing whatsoever. He actually leaped across his desk and tried to throttle the mafia, the made man, the mafia guy. This actually happened. And we know that this actually happened because the FBI was taping this exchange. He had let them do it. He knew that they were there taping this. And so they witnessed this, and they had to run into the room and pull him off a made man. I mean, this is not a shy man. This is not a man who is afraid. Okay. Not only that, the scene in Casino comes up because later on, he ended up being given some sort of offer or something similar, some kind of similar situation with Lefty Rosenthal, I think was his last name, who was played by Robert De Niro in the film. And they have a spat. This is not a man. He really faced down the mafia and just did not care that they were the mafia. These are people who were doing the worst things that you could possibly do, who were running the place that he was supposed to be managing. And he just didn't give a damn, so that's the kind of man that he is. And he also described himself as being a strange person, which I love. That's been quoted several times. He just would say that. And so, he's clearly somebody who just did not care what anyone thought. He had a vision for what he wanted to accomplish. He believed that it was in the best interest of the American people. And so he had that same tenacity and belief when he took on the UFO issue, and the politics within that, and the corruption and the cover-ups and all of that stuff that he just did not see as being necessary. He saw it as being a serious disservice to the American public to not tell them the truth.
Thank you, Sinead. And John Hudson, we got 2 minutes here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. And we're talking Harry Reid, John Hudson, of course, from the Unbiased UFO Report here on Spaced Out Radio. John, your thoughts regarding, the loss of Harry Reid. How hard is this for the UFO community?
Well, I mean, it's always tragic whenever you have such an accomplished, bright person who obviously, at least became very clear in the end, had a personal bone in this, leave us. At the same time, there's so many people that are now coming up that we haven't even heard of that were inspired. People that are about to come out that were inspired, that were motivated, that took some guidance from Reid, that saw something he did that got them to take a step and do something. And so there's so much good that comes out of folks that do this kind of work. But one thing I'll just say, because I know you said we only had 2 minutes, I find so interesting is that whenever someone like Reid takes on an issue, right, whether it be Reid or Gillibrand or anyone else. One thing you never know is that are they taking up the issue because they have some constituents that care about it, or is it because it's something they personally care about? Because if they personally care about it, they're going to do more. They're going to be more effective. And one thing that was very nice, I think, became very clear in Reid's later years in his interviews, was that he was not just doing this because he was senator for Nevada. This was an issue that he cared very personally about. For whatever reason, not being an experiencer, but he cared very, very much about this issue. And so I really think it's serendipity that he finally bailed on us, just days after that bill finally got signed.
The timing is incredible. It really is, Thomas, as we got about 30 seconds here, that all of a sudden his health fails. It's almost like I got my job done.
Yeah.
And now it's time to let go and go visit the stars myself.
Yeah. Well, it's something he worked so hard on, to go ahead and try and make this real, to go ahead and try and take the stuff that was real. He called it, the United States government has so much information. It's like they have an ocean of information and they're only letting little drips out. Now we've got the United States government, the DOD, the deep state, who's accountable to Congress and to the American people on this. So
You know what? We're going to leave it right there, Thomas. I apologize for having to cut you off there. Danny Silva from the Silva Record, Science Bob McGwier, Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight, John Hudson, and Sinead Whelehan, the tribute to Senator Harry Reid, who passed away today. All right, we're clear. So we got about 5 minutes here, guys.
Well, you gave me 2 minutes and I came in with 30 seconds left. Dave, I don't think I gotta make sure I record that. You don't understand. Like, after decades of speech classes and public speaking, like, I don't think I've ever come in under my time limit in my entire life. Like, that is awesome. Like, I'm very proud of myself.
We're all, John, trust me when I say this, we are all stunned.
That was just like
prepared to throw to Thomas on that one. And
we lost Sinead.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Yeah.
She'll be back. She's one of the good eggs.
Oh man.
Yeah.
There she
I'll
is.
be right back. I need a refill on this. There's Sinead.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Well, you know, you hit a button and you're like, what does this button do?
Wait till you get a pile of grandkids. You'll hit all sorts of wrong buttons.
Actually, Bob, I was wanting to know where you are because you've got some sort of. It's like you're.
So I have an office where I do all sorts of electronic tinkering, and this thing over here is an 8 foot tall, 7.5 foot tall shelf, and it's filled with electronics and optics, cameras, and other stuff.
Far out.
Oh yeah, and that's 5%. My shop is 1,600 square feet, and half of it is woodwork, electronics, rockets, and the other half is my ham radio shack and my exercise palace. So it's just, I mean, we so lucked into this place when I decided to retire and move back home to Alabama, and we lowballed the offer by $40,000 and got it.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. When was this?
Last year when COVID was so hot.
Well,
people were desperate to get out of here.
Yeah.
And housing and property values around here have skyrocketed. So the equity's gone up $100,000 in a year. This is crazy.
That's amazing.
Wow, for that
I really lucked in. I mean, my Sharon walked in through the carport, saw all the extra stuff, and that I would have a place to put all my crap. She says, "Write them a check."
Your toys, right? I mean, it sounds like a playground.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So awesome. My toys are almost completely out of her house, except for what's in this room here.
There you go. And
I would be completely nerding out if I was there. I would not want to leave your garage. I'd be like, what's this? What does this do? Does this go with
Oh my goodness gracious.
They got snakes there.
It would take you 2 months to go through my shop shed.
Wow.
2 months.
They got snakes there.
Your place reminds me, we used to have a store near my house that unfortunately closed a couple years ago called Weird Stuff. And it was basically a store that looked just like your shelf there, Bob. It was just like 1,600 square feet, or some massive space of just shelves and shelves, just the weirdest little electronic stuff you could possibly imagine. And that's what you have to find if you don't have the kind of space that you have, right?
So this is an office. This is an office, and it's 10 by 20 feet. That's awesome. This is a small office that's inside the house.
That's
okay.
Awesome.
So that's where I write and communicate business and do meet on my boards and all that other stuff. So, but all my fun place is out back where the telescope is.
That telescope is so gorgeous.
Oh, it's so nice.
Oh my God. I really am genuinely jealous. Like, I'm not just...
Well, look, I saved for that thing for 10 years, and it drove me crazy because I ordered it during the shortage, and it took over a year to arrive.
Oh my God. Put me in your will.
You saved for 10 years, Bob? That is cool.
1 minute. Let's also remember that Bob's house is surrounded by poisonous snakes. All right.
Yeah, and you have bears for neighbors, Dave.
Yeah, okay. Better than poisonous snakes.
And Sasquatch. Of course, we have Sasquatch down here.
Hopefully. Hey, Bob, put me in your will for this house.
Bob, Big giant bears, big bears that eat people. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know Dave
It-
has bears. I've seen them up there.
You guys are ridiculous. I want to say quickly here a big thank you to Nicola, to Thomas, to Leward, to Jefferson, and Toe Tag, Bob, Whalen, Mandingo, and Catfish for the awesome super chats. We really do appreciate your love and support of this show on a nightly basis. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in tonight. We very much appreciate your support. You always have a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio and in our chat rooms. And to all of our regulars tonight, thank you so much for tuning us in. This was a hard show to put together. We're still trying to, we still may have one or two more people come on in. I am waiting for that to happen, but we're going to kick off the second half of a half hour of the show right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you tuning us in for tribute to Senator Harry Reid out of Nevada, talking UFOs all night long. We want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Former Nevada State Senator Harry Reid has passed away at the age of 82, and we are talking and tributing him tonight with a wonderful panel after everything Harry Reid did for the UFO community. Joining us tonight are Dr. Bob McGwier. We have Danny Silva from the Silva Record, from Disclosure Tonight, Thomas Fessler, experienced researcher Sinead Whelehan, and from the Unbiased UFO Report here on Spaced Out Radio, John Hudson. Danny, I want to start with you on this one because, you know, we look at Senator Harry Reid as a polarizing character in UFOs. And like I stated right beforehand, you know, that a lot of people were never addressed by him. He kept it very political. He kept it very professional. He kept his secrets close to his chest. You know, a lot of people would go as far as calling him a patriot to the United States and to the UFO community for the work that he did behind the scenes for the last 32 years. I mean, this isn't something that he just stepped into, Danny, 4 years ago when the To the Stars Academy was first made. This is a 32-year story. It's a journey.
Exactly. And, you know, he was doing it when we could count the number of politicians that were working on UFOs basically on one hand. Now it's like almost the cool thing to do with all these politicians commenting on UFOs. I can't even keep up with all the politicians now. But back then, any kind of a comment from a politician was huge news for us, even just a few years ago. And he was doing it when it wasn't cool. I mean, let's face it, it wasn't helping his political career at all. And he was doing it because he thought it was right. And again, if he hadn't, we just wouldn't be here today. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have stepped out and became who I am in the UFO community, blogging or anything like that, if it wasn't for the New York Times article. And of course, it wouldn't, there'd be no New York Times article without Harry Reid. And not only that, he affected pop culture. Our friend UFO Joe reminded us when he tweeted out, there was even the Harry Reid mention in the X-Files, the tweet that Harry Reid sent to Mulder. And of course, that was fictional. But, you know, after that New York Times article, it was a big deal. And Harry Reid was, everyone found out finally what he was doing with the subject. And I don't know, I just can't say it enough that he was doing it because he thought it was right, because he wanted the truth. Not to mention, he's name-dropped Lockheed and gone against the grain in many ways. And this is a guy that just stuck his neck out for all of us. He shouldn't be polarizing, in my view. You know, everyone should be thankful for what he's done. And I don't think that if you're into UFOs and you want truth, you should be happy with what Harry Reid did in his life. And we all have a lot to be thankful for and to take something from his bravery.
And definitely, Danny, and over the last number of years, you have looked with the Silva record into a lot of sources. Did you ever get an opportunity to chat with Senator Reid about this subject?
I've never talked to Mr. Reid, and I regret it more so than ever. I never attempted to. He did start opening up a little bit more. He was giving more comments. He even did a podcast or two. He was giving comments to bloggers and articles and things like that. So it wasn't all behind the scenes. Though I think the older he was getting, and after he was retired, he was coming out more and speaking on the topic. He was still viewed as a hard interview, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I can't thank him enough for what he's done, and I don't know. I guess it just feels like it was meant to be, the series of events that happened that led us to where we are today. And without one event, the next wouldn't have happened. And I don't know. It really feels like it was meant to be, and it was almost too good to be true.
John Hudson, we bring you in here, regarding Harry Reid. I mean, this is a story that is 32 years in the making, because we first heard about Harry Reid, after the Bob Lazar affair, and then, the creation of George Knapp as a true investigative journalist in this subject, where he became friends with Reid and people like Robert Bigelow, and basically introduced Harry Reid to this subject matter. I mean, this, like Danny said, this is somebody who literally went against the grain of everything that politicians have talked about regarding this subject. And here we are now, looking at a legacy to the UFO community. Do you think the UFO community really fully understands the legacy that Harry Reid will leave behind?
No, of course not. But the thing you got to remember too is that Harry Reid did not become Harry Reid for us, right? I mean, most of us first heard about Harry Reid when he was what was called the whip, right? Which is basically like the person has to drum up, basically has to get everyone to actually like organize behind anything. You're a cat herder. It's probably one of the hardest, worst jobs you could ever possibly get, in my opinion. And he was hardcore. I mean, this guy was he was. I mean, I don't know if it was a common nickname, but I mean, I often heard this guy referred to as the enforcer. I mean, this guy was he was ruthless, and the reason why a lot of people loved him was because he was on our side, right? Like, I mean, but the thing was great about Reid was that he was someone who actually played so fairly that he did actually get the nod from a lot of other people. So what this meant was, and the reason why I bring all this up is that you had those 32 years of it's a ton of progress, it's a ton of good stuff, but it's also a ton of mavericking, right? It's a ton of shaking the tree. It's a ton of zigging while other people zagged. This was his nature, right? And so we were very lucky to get someone with those skill sets working on our behalf. But at the same time, it would have been kind of crazy for him not to gravitate toward it, because those of us that tend to, acknowledge the strange and unusual are the ones that often end up studying the strange and unusual.
Thomas Fessler from the Disclosure Tonight. When you look back at Harry Reid, the one thing that everybody recalls him as being is a real true Democrat, if you want to get into the political side of things. But when it came to the UFO side, he was very, very bipartisan with his notes and understanding that this was a subject that isn't Republican, it isn't Democratic, it is for every person, not only in the United States, but Canada, where I am, and around the world. I mean, he knew the magnitude of the UFO story.
Yeah, he did. And that was actually one of the things that was amazing, what happened when we had the Gillibrand Amendment and the stuff coming out from Tim Burchett from the Senate in the United States, when they put all this additional, if you want to call it hooks, on the line into the DOD with direct information. It had to be coming from Elizondo, just so many lines after line, one after the other, of all these reportings on all these different programs that are now out of the freaking black ops, out of the area of the of the black budgets that we're dealing with, bringing it into reality. And when that happened, in the true style of Harry Reid, we had it Democrats in the House of Representatives and Republicans, same in the Senate, came together and didn't see party. They saw the same thing that Harry Reid saw, something that's important for humanity in general, something that, they're literally pulling, ufology out of the claws of the DOD, the deep state, to go ahead and bring it out into the reality, into the light it needs. And that's something that Harry started. And what happened with this NDAA that got us to the point of where we're at today, that, again, I'm saying I'm so happy that he was able to get past that point and understand that it made it to reality, Dave.
Very true. But I mean, Bob, I bring you in here. He had a very, very tumultuous political career. I mean, there was a lot of corruption that was brought towards him. He wasn't a shining star. There was some tarnish on there after his long career, as there is with most politicians when they get done. And we have to be remiss. We have to bring that up, that we're not talking about a gem of a human being or a gem of a politician here, but focusing on the UFO side of things. Do you think when Harry Reid got out of politics, retired, and decided to just focus on whatever he decided to focus on with his political prowess, that the UFO topic became one very close to his heart?
It did. So, and I want to just point out a real dichotomy in Harry Reid. Harry Reid shepherded the Affordable Care Act through the Senate in 2010.
Mhm.
And that was amazing. 35 million people got insured that never had insurance before. And Harry Reid is the reason it got, working with lots of people, it got through the Senate. Without a filibuster and all this other stuff. Of course, they had a super majority before the 2010 election. Okay, right. So they could pass whatever they wanted to, but they also had to get conservative Democrats. So he did all of that. Okay, so he could be very political. And on the corruption, look, I'm going to tell you how it is. I mean, you can say it's all fixed or whatever, but look, the following are the facts. You can't name any crime he's been convicted of. I'm just telling you that's the way it is. He's been accused of things, but not convicted of things. So anyway, it's just one of those things. But look, in the end, because he was a member of the Gang of Eight and in the leadership, he reached out to everybody on the intelligence committees and the armed services committees in the Senate, and with probably counterparts in the House, and got this funding to do UAP things. And after he retired, he gave James Fox 15 minutes in Phenomenon. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's way out there. And he just he came really close to crossing a line in Phenomenon. I mean, he came really close. And so he just said, I'm on my last legs. I'm just going to say what I feel. And he gave Fox a very interesting interview in Phenomenon. So Harry was a tough guy. He bruised a few faces and probably scraped a few knuckles boxing his way through politics in Nevada and in the House and the Senate. But he got this stuff done because he felt it was really important. And let's just take all of the crazy things that we've been told about UFOs, that there's a crazy energy source, that they can propel themselves by means that don't cause hypersonic speeds, that don't have shock boundaries and therefore no sonic booms, and anti-gravity and all these other things. Just think about how much those things would completely change the human condition. And if we finally get there through the reverse engineering and other things that are in the NDAA, it will be attributed to Harry Reid getting the officialdom to accept it. It'll just be amazing.
Okay. Thomas, I see you nodding your head there.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. He did a lot of things, like you said, Bob. There's nothing he was accused. There was nothing he was ever convicted of. Nothing ever did wrong. Yeah, was he involved in some pork projects for his own state? Yeah. If there isn't a senator or representative who isn't, that's probably what their job is sometimes, to go ahead and bring the jobs and bring the economy to their particular state. So he did what his job was about. And it's just a good, it's a good feeling of where we're at, that we actually have bipartisan support going in both houses, both parties trying to bring this together. And if there's anyone we could say who's on the other side of this, other side of the battle of trying to pull ET out of the deep state, it's Harry. He knew where it was. He knew where their handlers were, and he got the movement and the motion going to get us where we're on today. And yes, I agree with you 100%, Science Bob, that if it wasn't for Harry, we wouldn't be where we're at today. And everything truly is, it's a gift coming from him.
Danny Silva, I want to get to you in a second. And Sinead, I promise you, I'm not ignoring you in this half hour. But Danny, I want to get to you here for a second because, you're pretty close with George Knapp. And you have quite a mentor in George's, as we all do, and God bless George, because I know him and Harry were friends, and he's taken this very hard. So thoughts and prayers with Mr. Knapp at this time as well for the loss of his friend. But for you, in the conversations that you have had with Mr. Knapp or whomever, have they ever opened up about any secrets or why Harry Reid loved this UFO subject so much and was so passionate about it?
I think you said it yourself. I mean, no, I don't know any secrets, but I think you said it yourself, and Bob said it, and we can read about it in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, that George had his ear, and he was able to show him evidence or, describe things that were happening that got him interested. One thing we need to also think about here is Tim Burchett was very humble, and he was jokingly making fun of himself, talking about he's one of the least most powerful politicians currently. But that's accurate. Harry Reid, he was the Senate Majority Leader. He had more to lose, and he was still doing this. It's really insane that how much he stuck his neck out for the subject, and he let people like George Knapp and Bob Bigelow and others that he didn't have to speak to talk to him, and it was a huge deal, and he really did a great thing. And I'm just really it's a sad day for the UFO subject, but yeah. I don't know, was he, is there a secret story where he was an experience or something?
Exactly. That's the same thing I've been thinking.
Well, I mean, and that's a good point. Maybe he was, but I mean, we do know he visited Area 51 a number of times. That was by his own admission. He also admitted that he never saw any green men running around, little green men with big black eyes running around, and kind of the shot at the UFO community a little bit. But nonetheless, he was very interested and passionate. I mean, out of everybody you've talked to, Danny, and you're probably the closest on the panel here, I mean, nobody ever has said, Harry loves this subject because nobody ever answered that.
I think it was because George Knapp is how I understand it. George was the beat reporter, and George had his ear. And really, we could also say none of this would have happened either because of George Knapp speaking to Harry Reid about it. So in a way, it's all because of George Knapp as well. But that's how I understand it. And I don't have a lot of inside information here. I haven't asked specifically, but the way I've always understood it over the years is that George Knapp had his ear. They were both from Nevada, and Harry Reid was humble enough to speak to reporters that he trusted, and not, just brush this off as some wacky subject that we're all worried about, especially years ago, before it was cool like now, where these politicians didn't want to touch it. It was viewed as career suicide. And again, he was Senate Majority Leader doing this. It's really profound.
But an important point to make just real quick is that what you said is a very important distinction, because yes, he did come out and say these things, but most of what he did, if not, I need to go back and look, most of what he did, if not all of what he did after retirement. Okay. Now here you have someone who was an incredibly powerful individual in Congress. I mean, and held powerful roles for a long time. So had a lot of friends in a lot of places that provided him a lot of well-earned and deserved cover, right? And still, with all that power, with all that clout, he could not talk about this topic until after he retired. That says something.
Well, the question is though, what did he know before he retired? Because that's one of the things that burns me a little bit on this subject, guys, is what does he know? You know, why does he wait until after he's retired to open up? Why couldn't we just talk about this? Sinead, I promise I'm going to get to you here, but this is an American question for our American guest. Bob, I'm going to bring you in on this. You know, why couldn't he speak publicly about this while he was sitting in DC?
Well, I can tell you, he was a member of the Gang of Eight. Now, let me tell you what that means. The top 4 people in the Senate and the top 4 people in the House, they're called the Gang of Eight. They have access, open access to anything they want to. If they are interested in a subject, they're immediately read in, just like the president. So whatever restrictions or lies that are told to the president would also be told to them. But outside of that, they are in charge of going and looking at what is in OUSDI and all those crazy things that are under black saps, under unacknowledged saps and saps. So the Gang of Eight knows those secrets. When we go to war, the Gang of Eight is the second group told after the president of the United States. So he had access to a ton of secrets. I mean, a ton. Okay, so that means he's going to have to be very circumspect. I don't make sure that our audience doesn't misinterpret something that John said. OSAP was funded while Senator Harry Reid was majority leader. He did all of the groundwork, all of this long before he retired.
Oh, okay. Good to know, Dave. Good to know, Bob. I wasn't aware he was still in office when that happened. That's awesome to hear.
One thing you need to remember, though, not that far from where Senator Reid lived, was Colonel John P. Alexander, who was heavily involved with a lot of different things with regard to UAP, with regards to remote viewing and everything. So have those two actually talked? I would probably think so. So, have there been insights and additional information coming into Harry Reid throughout his career? Absolutely.
Well, we know this, Thomas. We know this. Look, I'm assuming that everything about Harry Reid in the Knapp, Kelleher, Lukatsky book is true. Let's just assume everything that's about Reid in that book is true. He went to NIDS meetings, and Alexander was there. He met Alexander many times. He met
Alexander before that many times.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so he would be in charge of helping get funded the non-lethal weapons research that John Alexander led. He knew
that was just a drop in the bucket of what John did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bob, you put yourself on mute.
You can, but I'm not going to talk about the other things John Alexander did. I don't want to get in trouble.
We've got just over a minute here left before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. A tribute to Senator Harry Reid's passing today at the age of 82 and what this means for ufology. Sinead, I want to bring you in here quickly, and we'll bring you in more in the next hour as well. But when you look at, politicians and the way they are regarding this subject, did you wish, or did you think that Harry Reid could have said more?
I agree with Bob. I think that the way that I look at him, I mean, he was an extremely sophisticated man. This is somebody who, he wasn't just powerful and tenacious and, a bulldog and this kind of thing. He was a very sophisticated man. And so when I say that, I mean, he was a player. Like, he really knew how to play the game of being in politics incredibly skillfully. He made things happen within hours. He made things happen overnight, either for himself or for others, or for things that they were trying to achieve. This is a man who really knew how to play the game. And he's also somebody who, I think, while he could make decisions quickly and was definitely an action-oriented person and could really make things manifest, he was also someone who was not impulsive. He's somebody who played the long game. And that's how I see him. And so I really see what Bob is saying about him having sort of used these years to do the best he could in politics. Is not an easy field out there. And, whether he did things wrong and did things right, I don't think that really matters. We're all flawed.
Sinead Whelehan, Thomas Fessler, Science Bob, Danny Silva, John Hudson. We are here for a roundtable tribute to the life of Senator Harry Reid, who passed away at the age of 82 today. Thank you so much. We'll be back with hour number 2 next. All right, we're clear.
Nice
Hey, guys.
music, Dave.
Feel free to jump in if we're talking. Feel free to jump in if you have something to add too. Okay, I don't want everybody just to, kind of.
Also, being respectful of the other people on the panel is important.
Mm-hmm. What about the music, Thomas?
I was saying your nice little interlude music. You go ahead and play when people need to quiet down and stuff. It's like that stuff you get at the award ceremonies and everything that tells everybody to, hey, quiet down.
I know. Well, between that and the intro music, it's like you'd almost think Dave was a professional.
Almost.
I'm almost getting that Brady Bunch kind of a feel going right now, Dave.
I know.
Dave, can I finish up on that thought a little bit when we come back?
Yes.
Okay. If you don't mind, I just feel a little unfinished there.
That's fine.
Because he really was. People can't hear us right now, right? Or can they?
Yes,
Oh no, they can hear us on YouTube.
Yeah, they can hear us on YouTube.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to say anything terrible, but he really was just such an incredibly complex man, and I find that really fascinating. Like, I love that he was just a bull in a china shop when he had to be, and then at the same time so caring. Like his friends described him as the kindest person they knew. He was there for you in a flash if you needed anything. He was the Affordable Care Act. Like, he really did care about things. It was hard.
That act killed my brother. The insurance was so horrible. The deductibles were so high, although he got insurance from it. He couldn't go to get the tests, and he died of a horrible cancer because of it. Just saying.
Did he have coverage of any kind before?
Yes, he did.
Passed?
But the deductibles were so high for the test
before it passed. Did he have coverage before it passed? Okay. All right.
Yeah. But when it changed a lot of stuff for him. Just saying.
So I don't think we can blame Harry Reid for your brother's death.
Oh, not at all. I'm just saying about the act itself.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Let's keep it to UFOs, guys.
Yes, agreed.
Keep it to UFO. Keep it to UFOs and go from there. Yeah. What kind of soup do you have?
Split pea with ham.
Ooh, my
leftover ham from Christmas.
One of my faves.
Nice. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I went from 1 2-hour live stream, literally from one to the other. So it was like,
it's breakfast soup, though, right, Thomas? It's breakfast soup. Say that it is.
Yeah,
it's soup anytime.
Got ham in it.
Hey, but if you think about it, coffee is soup. It's ground beans. Strained ground beans that have been dried.
Danny Silva, you don't know about this yet. But if you're interested and you can make it, we are having a Spaced Out Radio get-together for some of our audience members, whoever wants to come. And a bunch of us from Spaced Out Radio getting together in Las Vegas, April 22nd to 24th. I don't know what your schedule is like, but if you could join us, we'd love to have you there.
That would be amazing. I got to check out my schedule. I'm working right now. I'm working 6 days a week. It's super cool. But yeah, thank you for the invite, man. I'll see what I can do.
It's got to be a blast. It's got to be a blast.
Well, you know what? We finally decided after a couple of years of talking about it that we wanted to do a get together. It's not a conference. It's not, nobody's speaking or anything like that. We may do a couple of live YouTube shows where Lynn and I are discussing that. On how we're going to do that, but it's mainly a get together to have some dinner and some times to chat where people can come up to you and you can come up to people, our listeners and everybody, and just kind of hang out and be one with the SOR UFO community and whoever else is there. So we'd love to have you if you can make it, man.
Yeah, and I've been meaning to get back to Vegas. I haven't been back in a long time. I've been wanting to go to Disneyland and stuff, and I've been asking my friends and everything. They're like, screw Disneyland, we want to go back to Vegas.
Oh yeah. I want to go to Red Square, really great restaurant at the Mandalay Bay again. Oh, the Rum Jungle, 2 great places at the Mandalay Bay. It's been so long, but immune system, maybe eventually.
All right, guys, we got about 90 seconds.
Now the buffets at the Bellagio.
Oh,
These
yeah.
buffets.
Well, like I said, Danny, we'd love to have you. And, I think it'd be really great for our audience members who show up to see as many of our guests who've been on this show to show on up if you can and hang out. So, like I said, it's an open invite to everybody who wants to attend. And the invite is now passed to you, my friend. So if you can get there, that'd be great, buddy.
I want to meet Joe in real life, too.
What scares me about Joe, and I know he's listening right now because he always is, okay, is, that guy can't go around Velcro with his Brillo pad hairdo, man. He'll get stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Dave, you're incorrigible.
I went there.
Those
I went there,
carpets,
Joe
man.
Murgia. I went there, Joe Murgia. I know you're listening. I went there.
Those casino carpets, man, that can be bad.
Yeah, you're right, John. Yeah. Never get Joe Murgia to do a headstand in a Vegas casino. He'll never get back up vertically again.
Blue sparks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas is an amazing place, and the cost of living still isn't super high there either.
Well, I could tell you this, man, that the minute that our show gets picked up, if we're blessed to ever get picked up by a major network, I can tell you this. HQ is leaving the -30 temperature outside right now and heading to the desert of Vegas. I can tell you now.
I can tell you the best place to live is like 30 to 60 minutes from Las Vegas.
Oh,
here we go, guys.
You can go whenever you want,
John,
but you don't live there. Ugh.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lampiridine. Lampiridine is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We have an incredible panel for you tonight on the show. We put this together very impromptu, but it's turned out to be just fantastic as we celebrate and talk about the life of Senator Harry Reid, who died at the age of 82 from what we believe would be pancreatic cancer, and he had been suffering from it for a number of years. Harry Reid, for those who do not know and wondering why we're talking politics tonight, was a major player in the UFO world. He's the one who helped get funding for the ATIP and OSAP programs. He has been at the forefront of describing what is going on behind the scenes with UAP phenomena and the United States military, and he played that role right until his final breath. Joining us tonight are from the Unbiased UFO Report. We have John Hudson from the Silva Record. We have Danny Silva from Disclosure Tonight. We have Thomas Fessler. Dr. Bob McGwier is here, otherwise known as Science Bob, and experiencer and researcher Sinead Whelehan. And right before the break, Sinead, you were making a comment regarding Senator Reid and his importance to the subject and what he knows and what may not know. You wanted to continue that. I'll get you to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a little bit because we went to break right when I was saying that, it didn't really matter what he did right or wrong. I just want to clarify that. Of course, it matters what you do right and wrong. If you're somebody who's in power, you need to take responsibility for your actions, and you have to be ethical, and you have to follow the law and that kind of thing. But, let's get serious. Human beings are flawed. We are flawed by nature. It is in our nature to be both so-called bad and good. And politics is certainly a cesspool of examples of that. And so, I think that Harry Reid was somebody who, as I was saying, really knew how to play the game, was a very sophisticated person, was calculating, was, strategic, but was not cold-hearted. He was not somebody who was simply power hungry. He really believed that what he was doing was making a difference. And he believed in fighting for people that he saw as being vulnerable. And so, I think that comes into play a little bit when we're talking about what a complicated person he was. It fits our reality. Our reality is complicated. I personally think that we live in 3D, which is, a dimension of duality where so-called good and bad naturally balance each other out. They exist in us. They exist in everything. So, to me, that's kind of a moot point. I don't think you can go into something like politics with such a massive spotlight on you and do everything right all the time. I just don't see how that's possible. So I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is what he was trying to achieve when he went, specifically with regard to ufology, when he went after the reveal of documents and events and evidence in ufology. I think that I personally feel that he was bringing the same sort of sensibility that he brought to regular politics in terms of who he viewed as vulnerable, because this was such a massive secret that he knew very well was being kept. And this was such a massively important secret in terms of the ripple effect, the ramifications of this knowledge in the health and wellness of American people and, the advancements of American society and global society. Like, he saw the possibilities. This wasn't just about UFOs. This is about so much more than that. And so I think that he saw a real vulnerability for the general American public not knowing about this. Like, I think he felt that was a serious disadvantage to put these people into, millions and millions of people who are putting their faith and trust into a governing body of a very small number of mostly white men who are making choices for this entire country. I mean, it's really bringing everything down to an incredibly fine point, and he knew it, right? So I see him as somebody who supported the average citizen in speaking up about experiences. And
I don't think it's anything wrong that there are white men in office. There's all different people of different colors and sexes and everything in there, but going and pointing it out.
I'm saying largely the American government is made up of white men. That's just a fact. But the point is that Harry Reid was somebody who was going after these things, trying to reveal them to the public in a way that he felt was responsible and ethical, and that the American public deserved to know these things. So, I really, really admire him for that. I think that his personal flaws, if we're going to look at those, we should look at all of our own as well. But really, this is about what he did for ufology and what he brought forth.
Exactly.
Powerful stuff. Yeah.
Let's try and keep I know this is a hot button topic. Let's try and keep everything to the UFO side of everything.
Exactly.
With everything. So I want to bring in John Hudson here for a moment, if you don't mind, John. In regards to Harry Reid, what do you think he knew? What do you think he knew of the subject of UFOs?
Sorry, I just had to think for a second. So I think what's not fun, I think you need to separate what he knew from fact professionally, what he knew from fact privately, what he suspected professionally, and what he suspected privately. And unfortunately, I think those are all kind of very different things. I think that he was arguably one of the more read-in folks that weren't in the critical path of the projects, right? I mean, because if you hear what Bob was saying before and what other people have said, the Gang of Eight means that if you are in the Gang of Eight for a long time, and you can be depending on what role you have, you are in a role that in many ways is almost presidential in its like purview of some of these of programs and so forth, and you're in that role for a long time. So it's like so he got to see, he probably saw a ton of stuff professionally. He probably saw more privately, right? People coming to him, people sending him things, people bringing him stories, people introducing him to other people and so forth. But basically what I think it comes down to is that I think what it means is that you can take a set of beliefs that any one of us hold, right? And you can take your beliefs, and part of your beliefs are held up by your experience. For Thomas, part of his beliefs are held up by his experience. For someone like me, most of mine are brought by my research. For him, it was I think that there had to have been and I think it was Danny that said it. I think and Danny's probably right. It was probably Knapp that got him really turned on to it. But no, but I think Harry did an amazing job on it, and he probably did know quite a bit. But it's very hard to say because normally you're only you can't go just wandering around data. Like there has to be some catalyst to look in. You have to even know to look for something. To look. And so, did he really ever see the file where it said and there are 4 green people in room 4C on level 3? I don't know about that, right? But I think that I think what it meant was that he didn't have to base much on faith. My guess is that most of what he believed based on what he'd seen himself, which is a nice place to be.
If I could answer something on that, Harry was a Mormon, true and true, as much as he was American and part of our Senate and part of our government and everything. And the reality of it is, Harry was just someone who loved God. He loved his country. More importantly, he loved the truth. And there was something that popped up, something that happened in his past that brought him to where he was, that made him and compelled him. Because anytime you do anything and there's a risk involved, there's something driving you behind it. And I think there was something that was driving Harry behind the scenes that brought him to take the risk, take this and see it as an opportunity for humanity in general, but more importantly, humanity for the people here in America to go ahead and do it. Because while there's people everywhere, he was one of the leaders of the Senate at that time, using that power for something that moves us all forward versus just moving some forward, which is, my prayers and everything are to Harry, and my thanks are to Harry for what he's done for our country and for ufology and humanity in general. He'll be in the history books.
Danny Silva, I want to bring you in here to kind of look at the idea. Maybe we can play a little bit of a game here with everything, but I'm curious, what do you think Harry Reid knew truly about the subject of UAP?
It's hard to speculate. It is. I mean, he was a super high level in the government, right? And like everyone is saying, he was Gang of 8. He was Senate Majority Leader. You would think we kind of go back and forth with how much these politicians actually know, because we don't know what the rogue programs are hiding or what they're telling the politicians. It seems like a lot of the politicians are insulated and they don't really get to know a lot of what's going on with the rogue programs. At the same time, his level and his stature was so high up, you would think he would at least know something. Plus, he had George Knapp, Bob Bigelow, Lou Elizondo. He had all these huge sources. He had his team where he spoke about in different interviews, he would have his team look into things. He went as far as to basically go against the military-industrial complex by name-dropping Lockheed. He tried to get ATIP SAP status. He knew what he was doing there, even though that didn't go through. So he knew that there was the tug of war going on between the SAPs and the regular programs. So it's hard to speculate exactly what he knew, but I would definitely say he knew enough that he would basically risk his political career. Because even though he wasn't speaking about this as much when he was Senate Majority Leader, he was still making huge moves behind the scenes. And all it would have taken was one leak of this to get out to the press, and it would have made him look bad at the time. Let's be honest. It wasn't a cool thing to be doing at the time. So he was risking a lot, and he put his name on the line at the time. So that's how – I don't know exactly what he knew, but I know exactly how important it was to him, and it was extremely important.
Do you think, Danny, that he knew about a lot of the core secrets regarding this subject, namely incidents like Roswell or the Phoenix Lights?
I think if he didn't learn about it through the government, he would have seen this evidence from these NIDS meetings, from Bob Bigelow, from George Knapp, and he bought into it So I don't know exactly what he was getting from the political side of things, because we know that there's basically corruption with the secrecy. We know there's a war. Some people don't like it when I say it, but there is a war between transparency and secrecy. And the more transparent groups, even though they were secretive, like OSAP and ATEP, there's always a war between them and these rogue programs and these super unacknowledged SAPs. So I don't know exactly how much access he had to those SAPs. I would think a lot. We know people like Lou Elizondo knew what was going on with some of those SAPs. It didn't mean he could have access to everything and bring it back to ATIP, but he at least knew some of the things that were going on. So you would think at least Lou would have told Harry, or Harry would have been able to find those things out on his own. So I think he did know a lot. And just since he put his money where his mouth is, it makes me think it. But of course, this is all speculation. I don't know for sure what Harry knew, but I'm just looking at the bigger picture here. And for him to put so much on the line for the subject, he had to have been pretty damn convinced.
Science Bob McGwier, we bring you in here. I understand what Danny is saying here, but maybe it's just me because I want to believe, man, and I'm not denying what Danny says, but I really think Harry Reid knew some of these really in-depth secrets about whether or not there's UFOs at Area 51, or whether or not Roswell, claimed a crash retrieval or something along those lines. What's your thoughts on this? What do you think he knew, Bob?
I think we can take one piece of evidence in particular and infer a lot of what you're saying from it. He wrote a letter to OUSDI saying he wanted ATIP to be read into the core secrets. That means he knew they had some core secrets that ATIP needed to be read into. I mean, you don't write a letter like that without a basis for writing it.
Yeah.
And he knew that it was a big risk. He wanted, and I'm thinking that Elizondo was the person that told him, look, we're stymied if we don't get access to some of these secrets. And so Harry wrote the letter. He was denied, but he had a basis for writing that letter.
I'll speculate a little bit, Dave. Since you asked me, I'll speculate. I'll go out on a limb. I'm only speculating here. Yeah, I think he knew basically everything. But that's speculation, of course.
No, and I appreciate that and can relate to that. Sinead, how about you? What secrets do you think Harry Reid knew regarding the UFO phenomena?
Oh, I can only speculate, but I think he probably wanted to know or say a lot more about what he knew than he could. I'm sure he was in a bind with that, and that's why he did end up revealing more after he retired. But he's got to have known some really juicy stuff, and apparently there is some pretty interesting stuff that nobody's found yet. I don't know a whole lot about this yet, but I've heard a thing or two that, sounds credible to me, that now, especially after his death, we could end up seeing more because other people are going to have access to his personal papers. So I wouldn't be surprised if more comes out. We'll see. It would be very interesting to know what he really did know. I mean, if anyone ever does go in deep with the research and gathers it all up and, spends a good 10 years or so and then publishes an amazing book, that just would be fascinating. I'd love to read that.
Quick question. Do you think he knows where the bodies are buried?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Do I think he knows where the bodies
Well, I mean, that's just a statement. Meaning you're saying he knows a lot of information that's really deep. It sounds like, he's got the information where the bodies are buried, and now that it's gone, that information is really going to come out, and it's going to be remarkable.
Who knows? I mean, it'd be amazing if it did. Who knows? We can keep our everything crossed and just see what happens.
If he is typical of someone who held a high security clearance and regularly saw lots of classified paper go across his desk, he was assigned a government assigned safe with a funky spin lock that you have to give half your life unlocking every time you lock it because it's such a pain in the and he put all those documents in there, and he may be the only person who ever knew the combination So they may have to drill the thing open, which is going to be a pain in the rear to even get access to his documents. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, it's unlikely that anyone will come across this accidentally.
The diary of Harry Reid.
So you guys don't see it happening in regards to maybe they open up a library with all of his files that kind of go in there from over the years.
Yeah, but I mean, the classified stuff will be in the National Archives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but when you have that home safe unit, don't they reclaim that after you die?
Yeah, but what I'm telling you about is home safes.
Yeah,
you cannot keep
right.
unacknowledged SAP material in those.
Yes.
You have one room.
Okay.
One lab. One computer.
That's why Elizondo had to hide his emails inside of a barbecue next door. You're not supposed to have this stuff, but a lot of times the truth of the matter is you do.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't want to go to prison, so they're not going to leak it out.
Oh, yeah. But he's dead.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe, and pardon my ignorance on this panel, but do you think that maybe we now have to wait for his will on what he could release on this? Because I'm sure there was information that he could possibly release at the time of his death.
Being he's a Vegas guy, I gotta admit, I have this sneaking suspicion that there's a safety deposit box somewhere that's got something in it. I really do, but I'm being optimistic. I really am. I'm just
with a bunch of recordings.
With his love of that culture, I don't know. I think of all the people that you might suspect this of. I think Senator Reid's someone that might. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I bet some good rumors get sprung up.
Wasn't there a conversation about him saying something about Lockheed Martin or someone having in possession of a UAP at one time?
Yes, he said that. Not only that, he walked right up to the edge with James Fox.
Well,
he
you know what?
All over the line.
We got 2 minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Joe in our chat room makes a great comment. And I was just going to say this as well. George Knapp has Harry Reid's secret UFO thumb drive. I mean, he has to. He has to. Somebody has that information.
No,
and I will bet you over the next couple of years, we're going to see the great George Knapp, fantastic beard and hair combination and all, is going to be releasing information. That is
George does not want to go to prison.
It's not about going to prison because he won't. He'll be protected. It depends on what.
It depends on the data, but there could be a secret safe somewhere that where Harry was storing stuff that only George and George's the only person now that knows it exists.
There could be recordings of George interviewing Harry.
If Assange goes to prison, you will never hear from George Knapp because the protection of the press will have been ended for classified material if Assange goes to prison.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff right now that drives ufology, right? Like, look how excited we all are just fantasizing about what could possibly come out. All we can really do is play with these really fun ideas. We have no idea what actually is going to come out. And maybe it's not, I mean, I feel like, Senator Reid knew that timing is important. You can't just throw everything out there all at once. You do have to sort of be careful about how you support people in digesting this incredible info. So, I think there's an art to it.
I think I want to agree very strongly with Sinead. We know Ross Coulthart is really getting a lot of stuff. And he went on with Jarmungle, and he said, and I quote, "If the things that I've been told are true, we're all going to be scared to death," unquote.
I love it.
I know, it just gives you this
it's the shit that we've needed to know. Sorry, it's the stuff we've needed to know forever that's been gone and kept away from us. I know, write it down, Dave. It's kept away from us for so long. Sorry, you pulled it out of me, Science Bob. It's good the entire broadcast, but you just hear about this and it's just like, yes, bring it on. That's the information that we can't handle it. We can handle the truth.
Wait a second. If it's something that is going to truly scare people and there's nothing that they can do about it, there's no action they can take. It's just something that's going to show up at some point Is that really? Do you really want everyone to know about it?
Let's talk about that next. John Hudson from the UFO Report, Silva Records, Danny Silva, experiencer and researcher Sinead Whelehan. Disclosure tonight's Thomas Fessler and Science Bob McGwier here as we talk about a tribute to the late Senator Harry Reid, who passed away today at the age of 82. We'll be back with Space Out Radio next. All right, we're clear. You guys keep it clean and nice. I'm going to quickly take a man break here for about 1 minute. I'll be right back, guys.
Go for it.
Of course, we'll keep it clean and nice.
No, this is why they like it. They like drama. They do like drama.
Oh, I know.
Or like to create drama.
All of ufology loves drama.
Oh, I don't create drama. I just point it out.
We're the victims of the absence of real data, right? And this is what humans do. Like,
and of
whenever
course,
there's
smart
anything,
people speculate. Smart people speculate, and they infer from small pieces of evidence. And it's just the curse of ufology. Is the lack of data.
Yep. It's a curse of any group that has a serious lack of data, and ufology is just such a textbook case of it. You know what I mean? It's. I mean, if you think about things that you do know, or that you think you know, and now trace back what data you base that on. Like, I'll be surprised how much data there really is for what
we're dealing with fringe,
right?
basically on the fringe of national security, top secret, ultra top secret information that nobody should know. Supposedly, but we're right in Susan Go's face all the time, saying, "Hello, Susan. Yes, we're talking about the stuff you don't want us to, and we're going to keep it going here, and let's get this conversation going."
Well, I mean,
someday.
That office and that spokesman have lost control of the narrative.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they have crossed so many laws so many times.
No, they've lost control. They've lost control of the narrative because if the bill is funded and the office is funded and they get going, it's been taken away from Susan.
Oh,
Goff.
Not only did she get a promotion, she got an upgrade.
Oh yeah.
Because the information now that she's going to have to report is so much more than her entire plan to keep everything as a matter of national security.
I don't know. Someday I want to hear the real story behind Susan Go. I think there was something else going on that we were just completely unaware of.
Well, I think she was just a mouthpiece, and she did what she was ordered to do.
But
I don't think she knows that.
Setting the theater of what. The background she has, the knowledge she has, she may be the person who's there, and there may be people above her, but her expertise and experience, every single part of it is being put into place. She's just not there as a flunky following orders. She's setting things up.
Yeah, my point is, I would just love to, in 10 or 20 years, just hear this story from her point of view, right? Just for giggles, right? I mean, just for curiosity, just to hear about how all this went down, but from her perspective, with what was weighing on her, with what was impacting her decisions, with what guidance she was being given. Just see it from her perspective.
Really tasty pastries. If you ever look at her site over on Pinterest, just search for Suze Deleuze. That's Susan Go, and she has so many unhealthy cookies and desserts and yummy things and appetizers and all this stuff.
Seriously, Susan, what are you joking? We know how she compensates. We know how she compensates. When she does bad things, she eats.
Yeah, but she's got the most unhealthiest, yummiest looking things out there. Oh my God.
Wait, is
I
this
cover
true,
her a bunch of times on my channel. You have to.
No, he's being serious. She really is on Pinterest.
And she's following all of us. We might as well go ahead and follow her.
Wait. Susan Goff is on Pinterest and she has baked goods?
Yeah, she has baked goods, tons of them. It's Suze Deleuze, Suzedelooz.
Somebody send me this link, please. I need to look at this.
Yeah, I'll put it in the private chat. Put it in the private chat.
I've never heard this before.
Yeah, I encourage all my viewers to go ahead and subscribe to her on Pinterest. If she's subscribing to her and her lackeys are subscribing to all of us on Twitter, at least we could go ahead and follow her back.
How do you know it's her?
It's her. There's a picture of her when she's younger, and there's a picture of her when she's older. It's the same person, just an older version.
People sleep around.
Wow. This is breaking news right here for me.
Yeah.
Cherry Pepsi Mike, the creator of the piano key tie, he's on about his 17th Cherry Pepsi right now.
He's
Just letting you know.
caffeinated.
Oh, no, that's fully caffeinated. Fully caffeinated.
Yeah, he's caffeinated now.
Oh, yeah.
Dave, I have a tie that's covered in zeros and ones, and if you actually spell them out, it actually says ties suck over and over and over again in very small font.
Nice. Very nice.
Which goes over very well until someone in the audience actually translates it.
I want to say a big thank you to Nicola, Thomas, Leward, Jefferson, Toe Tag, Bob, Whalen, Mandingo, Catfish, Rob, Eli, and John for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you so much for the love of Spaced Out Radio and your support. Really appreciate it. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in and saying hello. And you always got a safe home here with us. Our regulars, you guys are doing absolutely awesome tonight. Thank you so much. And make sure you tune on. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are, this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone, and I want to remind you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We are paying tribute tonight to late Nevada Senator Harry Reid, who passed away from pancreatic cancer at the age of 82 earlier today. And what a loss for the UFO world it is. This is a gentleman who literally put UFOs on the table in Washington, D.C., and we are talking about it with a great panel tonight as we continue on with Disclosure Tonight's Thomas Fessler, researcher and experiencer Sinead Whelehan, John Hudson from the Unbiased UFO Report, Danny Silva from the Silva Record, and Dr. Bob McGwier. We call him Science Bob around here. And, right before the break, we were talking about what secrets maybe Harry Reid took to the grave, not to be, a little bit outlandish with that comment, but there's a lot of secrets that we want to know and we as a UFO community want to know. But we also know that Harry Reid, with his job in trying to promote this subject in Washington, D.C., was going to hold a lot close to his chest. That's what happens when you're a gambler in the famous city of Las Vegas, Nevada. And we bring in Dr. Bob McGwier here for a moment. And Science Bob, when you look at the secrets that could be pertained here, I mean, I mentioned Roswell and Phoenix and other secrets, but let's go to the military side of things here. How much was Reid, in your opinion, right on top of the subject of what was happening, with the Nimitz incident moving forward and even backwards in time?
Well, I'm very certain that he knew all about Nimitz. He knew all about the Theodore Roosevelt, and he was even talking about those things before he was talking about it in public to various people. I mean, I am certain that Reid knew about those military incidents. But look, somebody got in the NDAA that every 6 months there's going to be these reports. That's number one. But number two, they have to tell us about all of the artifacts that the United States government has collected and others in the world have collected that we are now we've had possession of. That is to be reported to Congress.
Yeah, that's found material, but also
found material
to go ahead and
so that means Roswell.
For trying to capture the stuff too. So
that means Roswell.
Sides of the puzzle. I'm thinking about the capture thing.
I don't understand how that language survived. I really don't. I really don't understand how that language survived.
It's amazing.
It makes no sense to me at all.
It's called the House, Republicans and Democrats, and the Senate. They all came together for this. That's the key. They're saying
it was completely bipartisan, and they are sick of these secrets. They're
Yes.
sick of them.
Well, humdinger. Look what they can do when they work together. Who would have thunk?
But that also brings up a good point in regards to the way that this subject is being handled. I mean, what kind of influence do you think that Harry Reid had, Thomas, on other politicians regarding this subject? Whether it's Mark Warner, whether it's Marco Rubio, whether it's Senator Gillibrand, what kind of influence do you think he had?
Ultimate influence. For granted, he was from one particular party, the role he held, and more importantly, within the Senate at that time. Granted, it's for one party, but what he did was beyond parties at this point, and now we have something that's bipartisan. So I think they're kind of looking back to Harry as a leader, someone who kicked it going. And I would say anyone who would get a call from Harry, they would, yeah, a real American hero. Great words, Tim. Someone who they have a high level of respect, and it's someone, no matter what you're doing, you get a call from him about this, you're going to drop everything and take it because who he is or who he was.
Very true. On a political side, John, when you look at the fact that, as we've stated already a number of times tonight, that this subject really became bipartisan. I mean, do you believe that Harry Reid was able to really connect with a number of people on both sides of the ledger, in explaining the actual reality of the subject of UAP?
Well, I think that essentially how he got started into this whole thing with Inouye and who was the other senator? From the early. Thank you, Stevens. From the very early days of this, it became very clear how bipartisan this topic was, and it became very clear, I think, to everyone involved, especially once you start talking about the experiencer side of it, how just purely human it is, how purely American it is. And so I think for him, I think it probably started very, very early from him that he understood that.
Danny, your opinion?
I think I keep going back to this snowball effect. One thing we need to think about here is Lou himself has said that when he was brought into ATIP, they asked him if he knew about UFOs. And he said no, he doesn't think, or what does he think of UFOs? And he says he doesn't think about them. So without Harry Reid originally, really there would have been no OSAP, no ATIP. That means there would have been no Lou Elizondo. So then Lou Elizondo, we all think and know, has had this huge effect on what's going on now, right? So that means there would have been no Lou Elizondo informing Gillibrand, Rubio, everyone else. It's like this meant to be Forrest Gump almost situation of string of events that, looking back now, it's really surreal how this chain of events has occurred. And
well, we still had Greer. We would have been fine.
Wow.
Greer played a piece and everything too. But yeah, without Harry Reid, I don't know. It's just really weird. It's like serendipitous almost. And I'm just kind of shocked about how everything went down. And we could get real weird with it too. And this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Reid, but Lukatsky supposedly saw had that event at Skinwalker. And it's just the serendipity is just is mind blowing about this whole chain of events from where we were to where we are today.
Yeah,
I think we can thank Mellon and Elizondo and others around them and working with them for arranging the string of people that went in to testify to the intelligence committees and the armed services committees, and including people that used to be in the missile fields, people who were on the Roosevelt, the Nimitz, people who've been involved in all sorts of things and stuff that we've never heard of that these folks heard of. And they went, we are going to find out what's going on here, and we're sick of this crap. I mean, Elizondo and Mellon and others involved got the people in front of these committees, and they kicked their tails.
And let's be honest, I'm sure that they were using Harry Reid as a huge selling point when they were trying to convince these politicians they were able to name drop Harry Reid, Senate Majority Leader, that's interested in this topic. We're always talking about, as advocates, what can we use as weapons? And I'm sure that Elizondo and Mellon were using Harry Reid's name dropping him as a huge weapon to advocate for the subject behind the scenes, if not Harry Reid himself.
I mean,
Danny,
look, just let me say one more thing. Everybody is aware and sees every night on television, whether you're watching CNN or Fox or whoever, that there's all sorts of partisan bickering on all sides. It's awful. But what you do not see is partisan bickering on the intelligence committees and on the armed services committees. They go inside, they get together, they make plans together, and they don't fight about it in public. It just doesn't happen. And it's been that way for decades.
Danny, I was wondering if you could give us an update, because you're very knowledgeable about the situation regarding the relationship between Harry Reid and Luis Elizondo, along with Chris Mellon. How did that form? And because Lou Elizondo always spoke extremely highly of Harry Reid, almost like a second father.
I know that Elizondo has said publicly, I'm sure, that he was able to, exactly like you say, talk to Harry Reid about this, and they were friends. And I don't know how Mellon interacted in that situation, but you're 100% right. And not only that, Harry Reid was writing these letters, trying to make moves, doing all these things. I'm trying not to speculate too much tonight, but we're definitely doing our fair share of it, so I'll continue. I wouldn't doubt that during this whole situation, even recently, if Harry Reid wasn't making phone calls behind the scenes to these politicians and advocating and doing a lot more than that for the recent legislation. I just wouldn't doubt it. And of course, I don't have any inside knowledge of knowing that he actually did, but I really wouldn't doubt it until some of his last days here, that he was just a huge part. And we know he has the ear of not only politicians, senators and people like that, but presidents.
Yeah, he could also just offer a lot of advice. He could give a lot of really, really good advice on how to approach things, who to talk to, where to get I mean, he was just such a wealth of information.
Oh, very, very true. I mean, he was a senior statesman for the state of Nevada. And, I'm looking at it from a personal point of view because, as Luis Elizondo said to me via text message earlier today, that he was extremely heartbroken over this, almost like losing a family member in regards to this. I mean, was Harry always that personable with the UFO crowd in Washington, D.C. there, Danny?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know for sure. I've heard these things, and of course, he must have been. I mean, he was one of the biggest advocates this whole time. And I think from the beginning, he had Elizondo's back. I mean, we can see that from documents that have been released. So it definitely seems that way.
Sinead.
Yeah, I'd just like to speak to that for a minute because one of the interesting things about him, again, he was such a dynamic person, like really, really powerful person, right? Really intimidating to others and really able to push through barriers and get things done. So a lot of people saw him as very intimidating, but there's several people, I wouldn't say many, several people who described him as being a mentor, a father figure to them, including people who were his peers, who were not that much younger than him. They saw him as a father figure, as a mentor, like he really seemed to hold that position of esteem, but, warm-hearted esteem, where there's just sort of almost like a familial connection between that person and him. So he's somebody who has so much depth, right? Real depth in his character, along with this fieriness that we saw in public. There was all this warmth and real commitment to friendships. He had really long-term friendships that lasted many, many decades, And again, this is a man who came from literally nothing. I mean, both of his parents were alcoholics. He didn't have anybody looking after him. He grew up in a shack until he was in high school, and then just became so tough internally and externally, because again, he was a boxer, that he was able to do things like take on the mafia. I mean, the mafia put a bomb in underneath his family's car. He had children. It didn't go off, but that happened, right? So, I mean, he's been through things. This is not a man who was a shy wallflower in any way, you know, either in his commitment, his passionate commitment to ufology and to revealing the truth of what was going on, but also behind the scenes to the people in his life. You know, he just seems to really have so much dynamism on so many levels.
Science Bob, I want to get you in here before getting Thomas's reaction, but I want to ask you, would a person in, and I'm saying this because, I'm, being Canadian, our politics are quite different, but would a person like Harry Reid been called in if, say, there was a crash retrieval? Did he have that kind of pull where if there was a crash retrieval out there at, say, Area 51, that he could go view it?
I don't think so. And the Harry Reid would have been a well-protected person. The kind of level of person Harry Reid is, he would have sent a staffer out to where the crash was. And the staffer would have been escorted. Now, he would have sent a staffer. He wouldn't have gone himself. That's my opinion.
Thomas?
I think he would have been read in on the situation. Not maybe, what Bob's saying, he may or may not have been involved in it, but he was like in the top positions in the Senate when he was there. So generally you have the majority and the minority whips who are basically read into everything at the very high levels. So that's even where we're talking about the stuff with regards to stuff going on with the USS Russell in 2019. He still probably had a security clearance at the point where he was at. So the information that was going on, I wouldn't doubt that he was still digging into it and finding it out. But to answer your question, Dave, I think probably not gone to it unless it was something totally remarkable where he needed to, or there was an opportunity there. But maybe not out of maybe not out of a necessity though. But considering his involvement in it, maybe out of choice. I can kind of see where you're coming to it from that perspective, Dave.
Well, and the reason why is, somebody where he had said on publicly that he had been to Area 51 on numerous times and numerous occasions. Look, I'm not expecting him to take tours into the underground or mountain facilities or whatever they have there. It's probably more of this is the, landed on the runway. This is what we are. This is where where the F-117s used to hang out. This is the old B-2 bomber,
But here's what your money built for you. Here's that secret thing you signed in the back deal. Here's what's really going on with it.
Look at our drones. This is what we have.
You could have 5 different people get a tour of Groom and have completely different experiences and see completely different things, just depending on what they were showing.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, how much would he have been let in on for somebody to be as passionate about this subject, to get that $22 million, number one, but number two, to make sure that, other things happened that probably benefited his state regarding this research, Thomas?
That 22 million was probably just a drop in the bucket of only the one little thing that we know about at this point. There's got to be so much more out there than we just haven't heard about that hasn't come to light. So, I think Bob wants to say something on this.
No, it's not that. It's just that Harry Reid, at the level he was when he went to Area 51, the entire trip was choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
It was completely choreographed by the people at Area 51 and by Harry Reid's staff. He was the puppet of his staff and them, going through, patting them on the back, saying good words, figuring out what he needed to work on when he went back to get funding for or to kill or whatever. I'm just telling you, it was that kind of thing for that level of senator is utterly choreographed.
And that would be true at any base. That would be true at any facility.
Every one of them.
And that's just anyone who didn't do that could be found guilty of malpractice. Like you have to do that. If it's your base, you're going to do that.
Yeah.
That's how you manage expectations, right?
This isn't like an open random walkthrough. We're going to walk wherever the hell we want and see whatever we want. There's an agenda of point A to point B, and here's how we're going to spend the 3 hours.
And remember, that's the test range. There are radioactive hot spots all over. He can't go just anywhere he wants to.
Yeah.
The whole place is glows.
No, very, very, very true. But I mean, the pull that he had regarding the military in his state, obviously Nellis Air Force Range, the largest test facility in the United States in Nevada, pretty much taking up a good third of the entire state. I mean, we're talking about a lot of land here and a lot of military ordnance that is tested in Nevada. I mean, could he have been let in? And granted, it's all speculation. Could he have been let in on maybe some flights the way we thought Bob Lazar was? You know, hey, you might want to go into this area at this time to see what we're working on. Could he have been in on that, or was it all about technology? I mean, considering his relationship with Robert Bigelow and knowing what Bigelow's into, he had to have some knowledge of what was being tested, especially with Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, it stayed over in Utah, but with his ties to John Alexander, as we brought up before. Anybody?
I'm sure he toured many places at Nellis. Did they take him out to see the tall whites? No.
Yeah, I mean, if I never, sadly, I never had a chance to meet Senator Reid. But if I just had to base on other people I've known and friends I've had and so forth, my guess would be, and once again, I'm speculating, and thank you for Danny keep bringing this up that we are doing this, but my guess is that most of the stuff that he had seen or heard that was really emotionally impactful and had contiguous nature to it were things that he heard privately because of the role he was in. Right, then I think he probably saw a lot of stuff professionally in bits that then provided support for the other thing. Right, I think that my guess is that probably a lot of what he saw professionally was in pieces. Right, it wasn't going to be, you know, these continuous story arcs that kind of paint a clear picture of what's going on.
Danny, I want to bring you back in here, making sure you're still alive there, bud. Because the chat room was pretty worried with your head down there, whether or not you were still with us. But I'm just teasing. For you, when you kind of put this all together and you see the power that Harry Reid had, not only in the state of Nevada, but in Washington, D.C. and across the United States regarding this topic, you know, is it safe to assume that he is a proponent that there could have been life out there, that these were true phenomena happening, and he was convinced that it wasn't Russia, it wasn't China, it wasn't a foreign adversary?
Again, we're in speculation territory here. I don't think he would have done what he did without believing these things. I did see some maybe possibly political pushback from him, where at times he wanted to distance himself. You mentioned where he would say he didn't want to talk about Little Green Men, but let's be honest, some of this stuff is about Little Green Men. At times he would contradict himself slightly. We all do at times, but he was also a politician, and he had to kind of watch his back, and he was walking a fine line. Not to mention, like Bob said, he probably had clearances and all kinds of things, NDAs and whatnot. So I think at the end of the day, he did believe. And, you know, sometimes we say things and we go back on them later. So even just recently, I think it was my friend UFO Joe was talking about he would love to, because Joe met Harry Reid at one point and had a real quick interview with him in Vegas, impromptu style. And I think Joe was saying he wanted to ask him the Little Green Men question again. And this was just maybe a week ago, and we didn't know obviously what would happen today. But we wanted to go back to that question and ask him again, and maybe he'd have a different answer this time.
I would love to know the answer to that. I'm not going to lie. I would love to know the answer to that. Panel, I'm going to get you to hold on. We are through 2 hours here on Spaced Out Radio on a special edition of tonight's show on the mighty SOR, where we are paying tribute to the late Senator Harry Reid of Nevada, who passed away at the age of 82 as a result of what we believe is pancreatic cancer. And of course, he'd been battling that for a number of years. But we are paying tribute to the UFO side of Senator Harry Reid and his value to the subject. Could we be where we are today in our knowledge of UFOs if it wasn't for the late Harry Reid? We'll find out when we return with our great panel on Spaced Out Radio tonight, so stay tuned. Hour 3 is next. All right, we're clear.
As you asked the question about John Alexander 15 seconds earlier, I had dogs and people running down the stairs in the room. I had to switch off the mic, and I just didn't hear the first part of that sentence. Otherwise, yeah, it happens.
John Alexander scares me.
Danny.
John Alexander scares the hell out of me.
It's like Dexter's Lab, but he's like the evil scientist kid grown up and old.
I someone figured out him.
Danny.
I
Sorry.
mean, go look at what his PhD is in.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he's a creepy kind of guy.
Hey, I've hung out in his house several times, and he is a cool guy. He's
great.
His all the cool things that should wind up in museums and didn't, they're
in his house. They're in his house.
Unbelievable artifacts everywhere.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
He's got a huge collection.
Oh, good for him.
Because he studied death process all over the world.
Right.
Ayahuasca
I had heard about him before. I had heard about him in the context of this world. I'd read about Dr. Death in other contexts, like, I mean,
oh my goodness,
he's famous.
Oh yeah, he's very famous.
How much more time?
Orion Fenton has a great story about John Alexander, where at one of her UFO conferences, there were people standing up claiming to be my lab experiencers and standing
present
and saying that why were you present in my lab experience? And Alexander's standing there kind of smirking, like, what are you talking about? Right? And this has happened like 4 or 5 times to him with people who don't even know who he is, but recognize him from their experience. I mean, it's intense.
Yeah, great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Another one whose age is getting on as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he's 85.
We're at this point, and we've been worried about this. I've been talking about this for years now. We have a lot of these legends, and they're in their 80s. Valet, Pudov, the list goes on. And I think a lot will be coming out. I don't know if it's going to be coming out from Harry, but we know that Valet has like that time lock on some of his stuff for 10 years from now. And I think they're going to be dropping a lot of stuff. But it's sad. It's like this whole older generation, we may be without them in the next decade. It's morbid, and I hate to bring it up, but
it's realistic.
Yeah, it's realistic. It's life.
I think he's written volume 5 and volume 6, and they're sitting in a time lock safe to be released after he's dead.
Yeah, and these guys get their flowers and their respect now, but we got to really make sure that we continue to do that while they're here.
But it's understanding of the time everything is finite, and recognizing there isn't a lot of time with these guys. So getting the opportunity when it's still there, that's the key.
Mm-hmm. And we're lucky. Elizondo, he's pretty young. I mean, some of these other guys are pretty young, but the real legends, the guys that have been doing it for decades and decades, they're up there. They're way up there.
I wonder if Elizondo is going to ride off into the sunset. I mean, he kept claiming that's what he wants to do, and now he has the NDAA. I wonder if that will happen.
I think he's going to keep at it for a while here. And I've always speculated, and he's kind of dropped hints that he might want to run for office of some sort.
Yeah.
Mellon is still pretty young. Let's be honest, a lot of this stuff isn't fun. It's extremely stressful. And it's stressful for me. I only can imagine how stressful it is for Elizondo.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me about Elizondo is already had one cancer scare. Who knows if there's been any before or after that. Depending on where he was over in the Middle East where things are going on, he may have been exposed to different stuff that, it just
I saw a photograph of him in his uniform carrying his M4, and he was right in front of the doors of the airport in Kandahar, Afghanistan. I recognized the place.
We're gonna take some questions from our audience members coming up here, and I want some of that soup so bad. I do.
But it's breakfast soup, Dave. It's
Hey,
breakfast.
at least it's not a drumstick this time.
Sinead. It is not breakfast.
It is. Don't tell the truth.
But it's not a drumstick this time, Dave.
Danny,
Yeah.
did you read the comments?
Yeah, I've been trying to scroll through everything. I was looking at this earlier. That's part of why my head was down. I was trying to read this stuff.
They're like, is he dead? Is he dead? Hold a mirror under his nose. Is he breathing? What's happening? Is he alive?
Oh my goodness. We got about 1 minute here, guys. 1 minute. My feet are freezing in my studio right now.
My feet
Joe Monk wants to know where my hat is. So I was gone for a week, and I don't know where I put it.
Hey, the cold is good for your equipment, though, right, Dave?
It is good for the equipment. Although I have a $2,500 paperweight right now after my main switchboard or mixing board decided to quit on me.
Oh
I
no!
thought you were going to say your Peloton.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say your Peloton.
No, I'm too fat for a Peloton. 1 second here, guys. Thank you, Nicola, Thomas, Leward, Jefferson, Toe Tag, Bob, Whalen, Mandingo, Catfish, Rob, Eli, John, and Rex for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. Thank you so much. We're going to continue on with the panel here in hour 3. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this all-important night where we celebrate the life of UFO fanatic Senator Harry Reid. And we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lampiridine. Lampiridine is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with our panel tonight discussing the life of Senator Harry Reid. The former Nevada senator passed away at the age of 82, which we believe it was from pancreatic cancer, if not some complications with it. Joining us tonight are from the Silva Record, Danny Silva, Dr. Bob McGwier, otherwise known as Science Bob around these parts. From the UAP Report here on Spaced Out Radio, John Hudson, Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight, and researcher and experiencer Sinead Whelehan. And we're going to take some questions from our audience here. And Danny, we'll start with you on this one. Was OSAP a thank you from Harry Reid to Robert Bigelow for campaign contributions vis-a-vis claims of the Black Vault's John Greenwald? This one comes from Cherry Pepsi Mike.
A lot of people are saying that, and I need 100% proof, and I feel like it's okay to speculate about politics and things like that, but to me also it's kind of I don't want to say dirty, but it's again, it's okay to speculate about politics and always think the worst, but it's such a shot that I would say for me to personally believe it, I really need proof for that. And so, no, me personally, I don't believe it. I'm not knocking people that do, but especially on this day, I've never believed it. And, George has kind of disputed that, and other people have disputed it too. And it was open at the end of the day. Elizondo has also said that the people that really know how these programs are sold or are basically put out there, they don't use the word UFO. None of them do. Or other words. They use code words. So me personally, I don't believe that until Elizondo or George Knapp come out and say it. And I don't like that whole topic, to be honest. But I don't knock people for talking about it. But I just refuse to believe it until I see more proof.
Thomas.
If I might on this one really quick, you have to look at the situation of what took place with Bigelow Aerospace at that time. Was there, and the team they put together, the investigations they did, the people who they brought in, they involved Avi Loeb at many different levels. They had all these great systems they put together, all this data that's there that's still surviving within the DoD at this point. Was there anybody who was better qualified for this? So yeah, there may have been some, contributions coming in from Bigelow who could easily afford it, but I don't think Harry Reid's ever a guy who could ever be bought. But maybe he could be sold on the idea of these people are uniquely skilled and have the ability to pull this off, and there's nobody else that can do it. And maybe that's why it was given to him. I don't think it was because what we had coming out of it, if anyone here has read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon and read and saw what they've done, Dave, you've read it, haven't you?
I'm still waiting for my copy. You got to realize big floods around here. I haven't got my copy yet.
Oh, that stinks. Yeah, it's an unbelievable book. And just to hear about the team they put together at Bigelow Aerospace to go and do this and all the people that they hired in a short amount of time. And once they had the teams there, the planning, the execution, it was an A team,
And
a triple A team.
Lockheed didn't bid on it because it was peanuts for them.
Yeah, $22 million is peanut.
$22 million just wasn't enough money for them.
It's peanut. And Bigelow lost money on that thing. And he put up this building to put stuff in. And he brought all in these hotshot scientists, and they are not cheap. He brought them all for meetings and kept them there for weeks. I'm telling you.
They dug facilities under that warehouse.
Exactly. He lost money out of the $22 million.
Well, let's not forget. $700,000 went to MUFON, and a number of hundreds of $1,000s went to buying other UFO websites as well. So there's at least $1 million. John, go ahead.
So you might remember this because I can't find any evidence of this.
We can barely hear you, John. You got to get close to your microphone.
Sorry. I put it down. I apologize. What I was to say was I have this vague memory that Lockheed did put a bid into it and then pulled it.
That was originally reported, and then it was retracted. So no, they didn't.
I went and looked at Fed BizOps, which is, if everybody who's ever done this knows about Fed BizOps. I went and looked at Fed BizOps. The Bigelow stood up Bass. 4 weeks after he stood up Bass, the contract was let out to the public. 2 weeks later, Bigelow put in a bid. It was the only bid received, and they won.
Okay.
I want to bring something up on Twitter that just came up recently from Trail of the Saucers at Hollywood UFOs, otherwise known as Bryce Zabel. He was going to try and make the show tonight, and unfortunately he couldn't. He said this: in 16 minutes of coverage of Harry Reid's passing, CNN managed in several packages and multiple guests to never even mention once Reid's commitment to UAP truth. Shame on CNN. Terrible journalism. How do you not mention UFOs with Harry Reid? We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's continue on with Mennonite Abe's question for the panel. Now that Senator Reid is gone, which senator takes the torch on the UFO subject? Sinead.
Yeah, I think, Danny really should be the one to speak to this, or Bob, but I just want to say I think everyone is going to be running for the torch because it's now a popular topic, right? It's now a hot button topic. a lot of people are very interested in this. They want to be a part of it. They see momentum building, and they want to hop on the bandwagon, right? The bandwagon that Harry Reid helped to build. That's very awkward, but you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, I think this is a popular topic. A lot of people are going to be wanting to be the one to hold the torch, which is kind of interesting. You know, we're really heading into this new phase of ufology and this new phase of understanding what could be going on. And in the not so recent past, a lot of people would have been trying to avoid that, like the plague. You know, no one wanted to take up that mantle. It was embarrassing. It could ruin your career, all kinds of stuff. There have been a few who have been willing to do it and, you know, have somehow survived. But I think now it's going to be like bridesmaids at a wedding, you know, hoping to catch the bouquet. That's what I think it's going to look like.
I don't know if we're quite there yet. I think we'll get there. I don't know if we're there yet. But because the thing is, if you notice, it still is specific people that have come out, right? It's Gillibrand, it's Ryan, it's Rubio. You know, there's been like specific people that have come out, and you know, they all, hopefully it's more based on constituency, but my guess is they all have personal reasons. It doesn't necessarily have to be a personal event. It could be, you know, a time they learned something that was very impactful for them. But my guess is that they each have some skin in the game.
Everybody and their brother now knows who Senator Gillibrand is. So right now, she is kind of the leading name, even though Rubio had a big name from the previous UAPTF report. Gillibrand has taken the mantle. She scooped it up and put a massive list of demands together for the Pentagon. Right now, she owns the problem, and hopefully others will join.
She wanted to.
Yeah,
because she does. Yeah.
Danny Silva.
I hear.
Go ahead,
Sinead. Sorry, Dave. I hear what you're saying, John. I just think, you know, and I don't think it looks like that now. You know, like right now, the snapshot we have now, I don't think that, you know, the visible presentation.
But we should start getting there soon.
But behind the scenes, there's a lot of curiosity and interest.
Oh, yes.
And I think people know that this is a very quickly building, you know, this is a topic that is building momentum in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, look at, you know, if you just look at, maybe this is, I hope this isn't too abstract of an example. If you just look at the trend in Hollywood, right? Like just within the last 12 months, the incredible number of films that have been churned out that are all about bad aliens coming to get us, right? Like there's a really high number of them that have been released in the last
12 months. 12 months, I would say the last 20 years.
Oh, for sure. But then there's a lot more all of a sudden, right? So like, why would that be happening? Why would there be so much money being put into creating these films, which we know are used to change the tide of public perception about things, right? That's partially how media works. It's not anyway, I'm not going to go into that topic, but that's an indication to me that there is something going on behind the scenes. And then also there's conversations that you hear that, you know, you may not have the entire conversation or the full context, but there's a pattern in what's being said by different people, right? That kind of comes out into the media. And if you're paying attention and you're recognizing those patterns, and you can recognize them as perhaps patterns that have happened before, then it's not that difficult to sort of see that some momentum is building, and behind the scenes, a great deal of interest and activity is going on. Look at what's being passed legally, you know, that we never thought would be passed. We never thought we would see these things happen in our lifetime, and they're happening. So I don't know. I don't think it's so far out. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 20 years, certainly not tomorrow or next year, but within the next 20 years for sure, I really think this is going to be a very, you know, at the forefront, on the kitchen table, in people's homes kind of topic. And I think that a lot of people in power are going to be very invested in holding the torch.
I think 10 years is a really safe bet. I think 10 years is a real safe bet.
I think people are looking for a miracle immediately after this pass. Now, so 2022, what are you going to hear about in 2022? Whatever Build Back Better turns into, and the election. That is going to gobble all of the oxygen in Washington, D.C. So I'm not expecting any major revelations that gobbles all of the headlines unless, you know, E.T. drops in on the White House lawn. I don't expect it to be the major topic on everybody's news wire every night. Maybe stuff will come out. Look, I'm expecting the the 6-month report, which will drop in June, and the one that'll drop at the end of the year. I think those things will get some attention. But unless there's major revelations, it isn't going to interfere with the election.
Danny, let's get your take on this. Danny Silva from the Silva Record. Which senator is going to take the torch on the UFO subject, do you believe now?
There's a couple ways to look at this. Gillibrand seems to have done the most as far as legislation. However, we're always only one comment away from a politician who goes the farthest. I think also there is a little bit of a factor here because right now I would say probably Tim Burchett has gone the farthest, but he's kind of like this weird underdog guy that people don't really seem to listen to. And I don't want to throw shade at him too much, but he said this himself about himself. So I think people don't take him as seriously. But if maybe Gillibrand or some of these other people are saying some of the things that he has said, I think they're going to be the new poster boy or girl for the subject. Also, we need to think about what's said behind closed doors versus what we're seeing from public comments. And that may be very different. But right now, it does seem to be Gillibrand because she's been the most successful at it. But that could change quickly.
All right, let's get to another question here. This one from John Music. Isn't it extremely disrespectful that mainstream media did not mention anything about the UFOs so far? I think that's going to play out here, John, in the next little bit because somebody will pick it up. I mean, those who are not, you have to understand how journalists work with this. The mainstream journalists do not want their names tied to the UFO story yet because they believe it affects their credibility as a journalist. It doesn't matter, how recognizable the topic is, how popular the topic is. There's still a stigma that goes along with the UFO subject, unfortunately. And so I don't see that being a major player, especially considering that a lot of Harry Reid's work happened after he was Senate Majority Leader and after he retired from everyday politics, even though we all know he was working behind the scenes. So I don't see the mainstream media, for the most part, digging into a lot of UFO talk regarding the passing of Harry Reid. How about you, panel?
I don't think it's disrespectful. I think they aren't UFO people, so they're not looking at like we are. And Harry Reid's long, amazing, legendary career, what he's done for the UFO field is a small percentage of his overall story. So they're not looking at it like we are. Unfortunately, they're not being as thorough as they could be if they're not mentioning it. But I don't think they're being disrespectful, really. I just think they're covering his life in general. And maybe 100 years from now, when the UFO subject, or 10 years, whatever, how many years you want to say, and look back, maybe the UFO part will be a bigger part of Harry Reid's biography. But at this moment in 2022, it's just not as big of a story as his general political career.
Yeah, I think it could be argued that some people might argue that by not mentioning the UFO topic, you are being more respectful to his legacy. Because there could be people that are afraid that even if you spend 90% of your time on all the other great things he did, and you only spent 10 times on the UFO stuff, that UFO stuff is going to tarnish his reputation. That it's going to tarnish his own, perception at this point in time when we're all grieving and so forth. And so I could see some people see not mentioning it as being the more respectful play.
I think there's something.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I think there's something to that as well. Yeah. I mean, there are so many different aspects of this, right? Like we do have to remember that, for us, the people that are experiencers, people who are researchers, people who are scientists who are very passionate about this, for us, it's everything. It's such a big part of our lives, and it's our normal, like people who are listening to this is their normal too. But for their majority at large, quote unquote, this is not normal. It's not something they're thinking about. It's not something that's in their lives. It's present to them, and I think what Danny said is right on the money. We have to consider that people don't always have bad intentions. It's just ignorance or a lack of information or understanding. And the fact is that there still is a great deal of stigma that exists about this topic. And I also want to kind of reference what I mentioned earlier about Senator Reid. describing himself a few times, maybe even many times for all I know, but definitely a few times as a strange person. You know, he would say it with kind of a laugh, like, I'm kind of a strange guy. And, you know, he was a bit of an oddball, and he was proud of that. He liked being a bit of an oddball. He liked being a boundary pusher. You know, he liked being a renegade. But I think that there were people who were not used to a politician being so comfortable about, you know, that aspect of themselves and just owning it so casually. And I kind of wonder if there were people who were at his level of politics or journalism who, you know, would have sort of not taken his UFO interests so seriously and might have seen it as a bit of his oddballness, you know, rather than as equal to any other passion or interest or commitment that he had, which certainly that it was. And then earlier, Dave, you know, you were talking about how he's not somebody who is particularly well known in this community, right? And that's true. He hasn't really percolated down to, you know, the average Joe or Joanne on the ground when it comes to ufology. But I think he is a slow build in general. You know, like we look at how much he accomplished after he retired, that he had built up for years before he retired. I'm agreeing again with Bob about that. And then also, you know, many other things that he wanted to accomplish. He didn't have any problem with being patient. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of represented in how his legacy is going to end up emerging as well. You know, could be a little bit later, but it will certainly make an incredible impact.
Right. Thomas Fessler, we're going to bring you in here. You know, I'm not sure if you heard the point that I had brought up as we got about 3.5 minutes to go before we go to break. About CNN 16-minute piece on Harry Reid's passing and not one mention on UFOs, and whether or not this leads to John's question, whether or not mainstream media will mention anything about UFOs and tying it to Senator Reid.
I think the only chance we have for that is over at Fox News. CNN has got their own agenda, and clearly, you know, their narrative and everything is being set by a few individuals at the top, and clearly we know at this point talking about UFOs is not a priority of the president of the United States. So if it's a party thing and they don't want to bring it up, well, then that's their own loss for it. But you know, we had the NDAA signed yesterday, which had unbelievable UAP legislation that's been passed, you know, historic, and nobody covered it on the news either. So it still feels like we've got that UAP blackout going, doesn't it, Dave?
I think so for a bit. I mean, you know, we're all searching for coverage on this, but thank goodness for places like The Hill, which does, and Politico, who does great work on tackling this subject moving forward here. As we got about 2 minutes to go here, let's get to another question from our audience. This one comes from David. We'll carry this over after the break here. Panel, do you think us as a society can handle a government admission of alien life? I mean, we could also tie this panel onto, you know, NASA announcing that they have hired 24 theologians to try and break down how the religious side of the world is going to accept UFOs and alien life. Sinead, we'll start with you on this one. We got 2 minutes.
Sure, super quick. I think that more and more people around the world are moving away from organizations and systems that we've been used to for a very long time, including perhaps religion, and are heading more towards esoteric interests or curiosities. And, you know, if you just look at the data, right, the data reflects that. The data shows that not only in the US and in Canada, you know, in our little bubble of North America over here, but globally, that there's a great deal of not only curiosity about extraterrestrials and UFOs, but a strong belief, a majority belief that they are real. And in fact, that the, you know, ETs, the whole concept of ETs and UFOs is actually ingrained into many cultures around the world and held to be normal. So yes, I think we absolutely can handle it.
I'll disagree with you, but that's just me. You know, we can get into the who, what, where, when, why. We got 1 minute. Thomas, quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have to agree with some of the things you're bringing up right now, because the stats are there. Less than half the people in the United States, and probably the same in Canada, which used to be a heavily, if you want to call it, Christian-based country, more than half the people are at this point, greater than 50%, are no longer identified as part of an organized religion like it used to be. So it used to be very secular and everything. Now that's more in a Christianity based. If you look at a country as far as like India, where it's very Hinduism based and everything, there hasn't been a change at all in the amount of people who are a part of the religion. But then again, part of their religion, they've been talking about battles of the gods in the sky going back for, thousands of years. So I guess it just depends on the where and where and when of everything. But I think there's no problem that I think humanity can handle this. I agree with you.
All right. On that note, we're going to hold the panel here for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio as we have Silva Records, Danny Silva, John Hudson from the Unbiased UFO Report, experiencer, researcher Sinead Whelehan, Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight, and Dr. Bob McGwier from Science Bob and Friends. And we're going to continue with audience questions when we return on the Mighty SOR. We'll get the rest of the panel's answer to, can we handle alien contact? Are we ready? And much more on the life and times of the UFO world of Senator Harry Reid. We'll return right after this.
Sinead, you're not on the battleground of UFO Twitter?
I'm not. I'm sorry, what?
You're not on the battleground known as UFO Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter. I avoid social media. Like,
how could you? How could you do such a thing?
If you go to Twitter for anything, just go there for the UFOs and leave everything else.
I'm surprised about this breaking news about Susan Goff and her baked goods that not being on UFO Twitter.
Yeah, well, I shared a link in the chat, and it's also.
I went to it. I can't believe I've never heard about this before.
Oh yeah,
UFO Twitter hasn't jumped on this.
Oh come on! I hang out with Anthony Bragalia, and he loves her so much.
Wow.
And I just learned some different things, and I saw some pictures that he had up there, and I went to search them. I was like, son of a gun. That's her. I actually called Anthony on the phone. We went back and forth on, and he's like, "Yes, he agrees. That's her."
On the CNN thing, you can just see what happened. A producer at CNN called up Senator Reid's staff and this family, and they said, "Look, we want to do a 16-minute segment. Tell us what to say." And the staffers and the family wrote the whole damn thing.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they say about his UFO stuff?
They don't. Maybe his family doesn't want to talk about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bryce Abel is in the chat room, so let's give Bryce a big shout out. Hollywood UFOs, and some of the best hair in the business. Bryce's hair always looks fantastic,
and everybody needs to read after Disclosure.
You're damn right they do. And I will say this: Bryce has a very correct. It wasn't that it was forgotten; it was just pure lazy journalism.
And everybody needs to listen to Bryce and Ross Coulthart's new podcast.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It sounds like the newsrooms were across America, which is what you're talking about, Dave. Just poor journalism coming from the production staff.
Yeah, they're lazy.
Oh, they don't understand either. I mean,
they only have so much stuff you can get done. The amount of time for the people they have, they're running on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
Well, and this day doesn't have a sponsor. Most news has a sponsor, right? Most news has a sponsor tied to it in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not direct.
An agenda, on a sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but who's supporting this one, right? Like, who's benefiting from the UFO one, right? Like, there hasn't been a payback system developed yet.
Tic Tac.
Dave, it seems like there's a role available for a UFO media advisor for major networks.
I can be bought. I'm telling you right now. I can be bought.
As long as he gets to live in Las Vegas.
Philip Wareham, thanks for putting on the show to keep me occupied during my Christmas holiday. Philip, you're very welcome, and thank you for tuning us in. We appreciate you coming on in to our chat room, so thank you so much. I mean, here, I don't know what it's like down in the States, but I know up here, the way journalism is working is about 20-some years ago, when a lot of the major media outlets started making their break for buying up radio and television stations and newspapers, what happened was one of the first things they did when they bought it is they fired all of the high-quality journalists and brought in a lot of, if you're paying somebody, say, $65,000 a year, to be an investigative journalist for a radio station. Well, guess what? We can do that same job with 2 right out of broadcasting school green peas, train them the way we want to train them, and we get 2 for the price of 1. And that's the way it happened. And it was complete a
For a
complete
role that
sellout
should
of
be
the
making like 100. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
But I mean, it was a complete sellout of the entire journalistic integrity for a lot of media outlets up here. So I know a lot of guys who've got it. A lot of guys who've got it over the years. And all I'm saying is when I got out, I'm glad I did because I controlled my own fate. And when I quit. And, you know, a lot of people haven't had that happen. You know, that journalism has been their life, and they got the short end of the stick because nobody wants journalism anymore. It's all about infotainment, which doesn't make sense because UFOs are such great infotainment and as well as ratings drivers. You know, they really are. So skip to my
we are. They're going to have less and less of a choice of not reporting on it, and they're going to be forced to report on it.
And that's the thing. If it's a ratings driver, and they had so many views and so much interest in everything, it's just really freaking fishy that all of a sudden, right after we had the first report came out, all news coverage everywhere stopped. There was one person from the House in Indiana who talked about wanting to have hearings, and then it was silent, and there was nothing else going on for months.
But do keep in mind,
10 seconds, guys.
There is a product tied into this. If there isn't products out there that are tied to some of these things, it just doesn't. It's not going to get mapped.
Okay, hold right there, guys. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in on this very special night of broadcast to you. I want to say hello and welcome to everyone tuning us in, including Bryce Abel, good friend of this show. And reminder that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. If you haven't heard the UFO news breaking today, it is that former Nevada Senator Harry Reid passed away at the age of 82. We believe it has to do with complications due to pancreatic cancer that he had been suffering from over the last number of years. And today, well, he finally got the answers to all of the UFO questions. Joining us tonight on the panel is Dr. Bob McGwier, otherwise known as Science Bob. Sinead Whelehan from Toronto. She is an experiencer and researcher. From Disclosure Tonight, Thomas Fessler. From the Unbiased UFO Report, we have John Hudson and, of course, Danny Silva from the Silva Record. Now, Danny, I'm going to get you to answer this question. Do you think society can handle any type of government admission of alien life?
There's a few ways to look at this. One way is I have mixed feelings. Actually, before I start that, let me comment on that NASA theologian story because I've been hearing different things about it. One of the things I've heard is that it's being misreported, that it happened like 5 years ago or something, and it's already over. And for some reason, they researched that story, and it's out again. So I don't know if that's 100% true, but it may be. So we got to watch out for that. Back to can the public handle it? There's two ways to look at this. I think a big subsect of the public can, and I think a big portion of the public can't. What would you do if the government told you UFOs are real? Not only that, abductions are real, and there's nothing you can do about it. People aren't going to handle that. But the government or anyone else, it isn't up to them what they think we can handle or not, because we're a free society supposedly, and we all got to put on our big boy pants. And no matter if we can handle it or not, we need to know the truth, and that's what we're all fighting for.
No, very true, Danny. And getting back to that story, I do know that this study happened once before, but the quotes that were made recently in this newest story about NASA getting involved, from what I'm hearing, is that this is new, a new generation of interest in this. I mean, we'll have to find the truth. I mean, somebody from NASA will hopefully make a statement on this.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure. I definitely hope it is new.
Well,
Yeah, me
there's a
too,
book coming out from called Astrobiology and the Christian Doctrine, which is set to be published in 2022, which will cover part of the work with CTI and NASA. So there is a book. Anytime there's a book deal or things coming out, this is the press that's going along with it on the program that happened. But it sounds like it's giving additional insight into what took place at that time.
Who's writing that book, Thomas?
Davidson is the guy's name. Let's see if I have the full name here. Reverend Dr. Andrew Davidson.
And do you have a date
University
for it?
of Cambridge.
Is it just 2022?
What was that again?
Is there a date? Is there an actual date for it yet?
No date yet. They're just saying 2022 at this point.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that book.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this also opens up a big topic because, Harry Reid obviously mentioned, as we talked about earlier in the show, about the little green men. And when we talk about the little green men, obviously that gets to the conversation of aliens. And Danny, you and I have talked over the years regarding the fact that, there was a real segregation between UFOs, which became UAP, and extraterrestrial life. And they wanted to tackle the one subject before they tackled any other subject regarding this. Now, for you, I mean, when we now see people at the Pentagon talking about extraterrestrials, Bill Nelson from NASA a few weeks ago mentioned extraterrestrial life, was Harry Reid maybe trying to block the idea of ETs being here on Earth right now?
I think he took some steps back, maybe for personal reasons, maybe for political reasons. Like I said, he contradicted himself a little bit there, but I think he wanted to make it clear that he wasn't jumping to conclusions, which is fair and evidence-based. And but we've seen this whole slow rollout, quote unquote. And I think now, basically, even though we're still in the middle of the slow rollout from people even like Elizondo, at times it seems like all bets are off, and we should be talking about OSAT. We should be talking about the high strangeness. We should be talking about experiencers. We should be talking about abductees, whatever you want to call them. So I see both sides of it, but it seems like once the ball's getting rolling, the slow rollout kind of goes out the window. And I think in a lot of ways, it's unfair. Now, it's okay to do it as an advocate and try to bring people in that aren't necessarily interested in the subject, because a lot of the stuff is drones and it is human, but then there is those other things that are probably pretty obviously aren't. And so it's okay to kind of ease people in slowly, and they can do their own thing. They can get on the computer, because if 1 + 1 = 2, then a lot of this is true. And I've just been realizing this more and more lately, this core story and the core lore that UFO people and ufology have held dear as the truth for all these years basically is true. And the lore that comes with all this stuff is going to be kind of undeniable, and people won't be able to hide from it. And that includes all the high strangeness.
Science Bob, your thoughts?
Okay, so I want to make a point. A large portion of the support for this in the armed services committees and in the intelligence committees really is about drones, because our people in the field and people at various controlled airspace sites and controlled water space activities and so forth, they are experiencing real drones flown by our adversaries. So detecting them, following them, characterizing them, where do they come from? How can they stop them? That is going to be a major part of this work. But what we know from the Pentagon and the DNI's own statements is it's not the only thing. There are things that are unknowns. We have known unknowns. And those things are what interest us. I'm just telling you, it's not the only thing that motivates this bill. Drones are real and they are a problem for everybody in the government, and every government in the world is being bothered by these darn drones doing things that these governments don't want them to do. And it's a problem. But what we want is, at the same time, they are working on these drones, is to use all these fabulous sensors and other things we have, and to tell us the truth about the unknowns that they are finding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't forget, Bob, they do have those Ghostbuster guns that they deployed at the USS Russell. That's going back in 2019. So we're a couple years beyond that. So the evolution of these weapons for going and taking standard drones out has had to, greatly improve since then.
Yep, but we got to have detection and other stuff, and the drones are going to get faster, and eventually they're going to be hypersonic, and this is going to be going on for a while.
Don, your thoughts?
Man, I'm sorry. I got distracted by something. What was the question again?
Well, we'll move on. How about that?
Okay.
We'll get you to the next question. And Malou brings up something here, John, that is very, very interesting. It says, asked if the American public is ready for the revelation UFOs are in fact alien spacecraft, the former Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, says, the American public may not be ready, but I am. Your thoughts?
Well, I honestly, I struggle with the whole question of is the American people ready? It doesn't matter. It's happening, but they got to get ready. I mean, it's good. I mean, it doesn't really they have to be able to handle it, because that's what's going to happen. Now, whether it's going to happen in a very short period of time or whether it's going to drag out for a while, it is. But it's a question of when. It's not a question of if. So it's something where we need to start asking ourselves better questions, like, what do we need to have in place so that people can accept this more easily? What sort of things need to exist so that when people have trouble accepting it, they can get the right services? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to start thinking of it in terms of it's going to happen anyway. And so for people that aren't going to be able to accept it, because there is going to be some of them, how do we help them? Because it's going to happen. It's happening now.
Great point. Thomas, your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe we need to have group therapy sessions and meetings to kind of get people there. No, but it's really about basic information acceptance, taking the information that's going to become available, put it together in a format that's entertaining and simple enough for anybody to bring into it. And we should be able to bring anybody in our society across to it. But the key is going to be able to avoid the CNN fear porn and everything that's out there, unless there really is something that's bad and nasty out there with it. But if there isn't, you could take anything and spin it in a negative way or spin it in a positive way. The more we can put a positive spin on it, the better it's going to be for anyone to get this pill down. Dave.
Sinead, with you being an experiencer and talking experiencer to experiencer here for a second, I mean, I know you're probably ready for it. I think I'm ready for it. But there's a large majority of the public out there that is not very well versed in UFOs and especially extraterrestrial contact. Do you think that the public would be ready for it? Now, Senator Reid didn't seem to believe that the American public was ready for it, or the public, let's expand that worldwide. You and I are in Canada. All right. So do we look at this as saying, you know what, maybe we aren't ready. We got to take those baby steps in order to prepare the people of this planet?
Well, that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I said there's an art to this. Like, I definitely didn't mean there's that it should be controlled by the government. We're already seeing a very carefully, deliberately rolled out disclosure of a kind, right? Very, very soft disclosure that's going on. That's very controlled. And I agree with what Danny said. Any government, I'm Canadian, you are too. Some people here are American. It doesn't really matter what country you're in. Like, it doesn't matter. The government does not have the right to make, this is just my personal view, decisions like this that are this momentous for millions and millions and millions of people. I mean, it just doesn't actually make sense to me that that would be logical for them to do that. I just don't understand how that can make sense, even just mathematically. If you look at the fact that the government is a certain number of people, and then you look at the population is so many more. Why is it that these people get to decide everything without this larger population knowing anything at all? Usually we vote on whatever, a topic, it comes into the public sphere, and we get to talk about it and have opinions and argue and do all that human stuff that we do when we're trying to muddle through something, and then we get to vote on it or make a decision about it. Most of the time that is hopefully what happens, right? Not
in America, when it's a matter of national security.
Hang on. Maybe not in most countries around the world, but I'm saying I'm making a very general blanket statement here. Okay. Yeah. I'm not making any concrete statements. I'm doing this to make a point. So let's not get into politics and all that stuff.
I'm not.
Okay.
No politics.
But just that I really feel that this topic is not just important for us. It's not important for now. It's important for the entirety of our being. This is the biggest thing that we will have ever discovered in our human beingness, as far as I'm concerned. This is a huge, huge, huge thing to comprehend. And so, coming around to answering your question, yes, I do think we can handle it. And when I say that, what I mean is I trust our inherent nature as human beings. And maybe that's totally idealistic of me, but more often than not, people have come through for me, and I've been through my fair share of crap. Okay, I've suffered, I've been through trauma, just like everybody else, right? I'm not special in that way. But, I do believe in the inherent intelligence of human beings if, like these guys are saying, we are given information, that it is actually shared with us rather than being withheld, and gigantic decisions that deeply impact many aspects of our lives are being made without our knowing. I don't think that that's fair. So if we are given the information, if it is done in an artful, skillful way with our involvement, not just done for us, then I think that we have the ability, as intelligent beings, to be able to handle it. Now, that's what I hope for. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. There are a lot of bonkers people out there. We've all met them. Sometimes we've been them, but
no,
right. Not him, definitely. No, never. But, this is all theoretical. I'm saying what I hope happens. I'm saying what I want to have happen. But, will it happen or not? Crazy stuff happens all the time. Who knows? Who knows what's going to occur? And the fact is the vast majority of people in the world do not have the access to education, knowledge, internet, information, that we have. Like they simply don't have access to it. And so for people who are rural, living in, let's just use India again as an example, there's bajillions of people living rurally in India, and they're going to see these gigantic ships show up. They're not going to have any idea what's going on. Whereas we have access to conversations like this to have a better sense of what's happening. So I think it's
I could say up here in Canada, the only debate that our prime minister is going to have is which socks to wear during the first landing of UFOs, because that's all he seems to care about. But
let me get in real quick, Dave.
Yeah, Danny.
As immoral as I think it is for the government to control information, I think on a human level, and I think part of this rollout, if anyone believes in the green light or this rollout or anything like that, I think there is a factor of they don't want people to be scared. And I think that's part of the goal. Even from some of the people that have been putting forth information, whether that's out of the goodness of their heart or whatever it is. But I think that is part of it. They don't want people to be scared. Now, can they control that? I'm not so sure.
I have one counterexample, COVID-19.
Yes, but we're not going to
get that a lot for the next 20 years.
We're not going to get into COVID.
No, my only point being, 35 to 40% of the people in the world that are told about it are going to go, it's BS. Yeah. And it's a plot. Exactly. It's a attempted coup. It's a craziness, and COVID-19 is the example, and aliens will be even worse.
Hey, Science Bob, go watch the movie Don't Look Up.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, there you go. Another example.
So literally, that movie is about COVID. It's a satire.
No, it's about ufology. Don't look
understand what it is, but it's satire, and they don't want to use COVID. But it's satire about people denying what's been told to them by people that ought to know better.
Oh, God. Well, it depends on who's saying what and what the reality is. But I understand about it because I've been suffering from it for almost 2 years at this point. So, yeah.
But then,
closing statements, guys, regarding tonight. And Thomas, I'm going to give you all about 45 seconds here regarding Senator Reid before we got to start shutting this thing down for the night. Your final thoughts on Senator Harry Reid?
Well, Senator Harry Reid is an American hero. He went and he dedicated his life to the American political system, whether it was in the people of serving the people of Nevada or serving the people of the country in his roles within the Senate and the House of Representatives and the Senate. Truly, when I heard that he died today, I was really taken back, and it hit me emotionally just because of how instrumental he was where he's at. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have disclosure tonight. I wouldn't be here talking about the situation of what I dealt with since I've been 5 years old. But the thing is, he's allowing that situation that is, as Sinead is saying, it's a matter of humanity. He brought that to the forefront of everything, and he changed all of our lives. And I owe a debt of gratitude and thanks and, tribute to him for what he gave for all of us.
All right. John Hudson, 30 seconds.
I kind of see some of these things differently, and I think that there's lots of other people that could have fallen into the role that Reid had, and so I look at it more as how lucky we were that Senator Reid was the one who became the role, Reid was the one who fell into those places, that Reid was the one who got those mantles of responsibility and those burdens of duty and stepped up and did it properly. And so I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Reid, for being the right person for the right place and the right time.
All right, Sinead?
final words on Harry Reid.
30 seconds.
He was a remarkable human being, regardless of his politics or whatever, he was a remarkable human being. He achieved incredible things. He did a huge amount for ufology. And, that is to be respected. Absolutely. Not to mention how he did it, the tenacity, the bravery, the just hard-headedness, that he had to forge a new path through that, very kind of muddied water. He really wanted to make things clearer for the American public. And although I am Canadian, that matters to me because these things always have a ripple effect. The US has status in this world. And if they say or do something, often other countries follow. So I'm grateful to him for his example in that way.
Science Bob, 30 seconds.
Harry Reid's an American hero. He led through difficult times, through a difficult presidency when the country's been really pulling apart in many ways, and I think he's definitely led on the UFO issue. He led big time, and we are lucky for him.
Danny Silva from the Silva Record, final word, 30 seconds.
He's the highest ranking politician to do the most of all time. There's big shoes to fill, and he's started it off. He's done everything in a transparent way, mostly. Again, no OSAP, no ATIP, no New York Times story, none of the last 4 years that we've seen. None of this would have happened unless Harry Reid did what he did. And I hope his shoes get filled quickly, but that may be a pipe dream and it may never actually happen. And man, we lost a good one today.
Science Bob, Danny Silva, John Hudson, Sinead Whelehan, and Thomas Fessler, thank you so much for taking part in Spaced Out Radio's tribute panel to late Senator Harry Reid and his work on ufology. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. And for Danny, hashtag UFO Twitter. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That's a good show, people. Very good radio there.
That's happy with it, Dave.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy. No, I thought it was good. I'm always a little worried with panel shows that they're going to get sappy and a little too sad, but we did a good job of, I think, presenting them in a good light.
John, I thought we were going to have to get you tissues. I
mean, look, he's got himself in the dark so we can't see his tear-stained face.
That's because his new Barry Gibb look.
That's true.
I tried to let myself up before earlier, and because I didn't let myself up enough.
We're having fun busting your chops, dude.
Well, no, for once I actually have lights, so it's like, because normally I'm in the garage, but like tonight, like I'm on my own, so like I have the house myself, so I was like, figure I might as well actually sit in my living room and keep myself from having to worry about frostbite.
Frostbite? You have no idea.
41 degrees in my garage it was.
He's 40 below. He's 40 below.
You know what would keep you warm and toasty by now, Dave? Breakfast.
Shower?
Breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast. Have a little breakfast, dude.
Nice hot breakfast.
It'll warm you up inside.
Huge
horrible people.
And
horrible
eggs and toast.
Horrible.
Oh, that was perfect.
That was awesome.
True story. True story. This morning, I walk into work, and here I am carrying my large Tim Hortons ice cap. All right, which is
That's
like a
roasted ice cream in a cup, Dave. That shit is terrible for you.
Yeah, well, I realize that I have one addiction, well, two, but that's one of them. And my boss is like, it's minus 29 degrees. What are you drinking a frozen drink for this morning? Like
there you go. There you go. You got up on the cold side of the bed. That's what happened.
No way, man.
You woke up on the wrong cold side.
Nope, not this kid.
I keep cutting you off. I'm so sorry. My timing is terrible.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I still love you.
He's used to it from me.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. It was a pleasure to be here with you all.
Absolutely.
And to get to see you again, Bob and John, I owe you a humongous message.
No worries. No, it's always hard to going back and
I
forth.
think we need our own Zoom, actually. We need to just have our own.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many conversations. I mean, I have so many questions about your grandfather. I really would like to know more about that.
Yeah. No, we should definitely do that, yeah.
I just want to tell our Spaced Out Radio audience that we will have a one-on-one interview with Sinead regarding ET contact coming up on Thursday, January 13th, I believe it is.
Oh, I was hoping it's Friday the 13th.
Or no, it's Thursday the 13th.
Okay.
Thursday the 13th. So we have rescheduled Sinead for one-on-one interview regarding that, because nothing compares to her. I'm sure she's heard that one before.
And thank you for letting us hijack your.
My head was shaved for 2 years. And my head was shaved for 2 years. I'm not joking. I have a photograph I can show you. The number of times when my hair was that long, the number of times I heard from people, oh, like Sinead O'Connor, I would be rich. I would be rich right now.
That must have been awful.
Oh, well, no, it just happened all the time because it was the automatic association, right? My hair was this long. My name is Sinead.
Now, do you mind if I ask why was your hair that short?
Pardon?
Do you mind if I ask why was your hair that short?
I just cut it off.
Okay, no, I was just curious. I didn't know if it was like an event, like you were at some location, or like there was some reason for doing it.
I just I was a practicing Buddhist at the time, and I was living in a temple, and I thought I was going to become a monastic. And so it was part of the, you remember.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, that's what I was wondering. So I was want to make sure it wasn't like due to like a health problem or something like that, but like or like because I had friends who'd shave their heads for friends who were losing their hair, sort of thing, right? So you never know what the catalyst is for people doing that. But having the name Sinead and not having hair just seems like you're just like hanging a big kick me sign on your back.
Oh, I was asking for it. I was asking for it, and I made it worse. I went to Ireland at the same time.
Oh my lord!
Oh, no. I'll tell you, you never carry a picture of the Pope around this, Sinead.
Are you a fallen Catholic?
Me?
I am.
Yeah. Okay.
My parents were raised Irish Catholic, but they left the church before they had my brother and I. So I was raised atheist.
Comment of the night in the chat room comes from Mennonite Abe. John, how deep is your love?
That sounds like
I'm introducing you as Barry Gibb next time you're on the show tomorrow night.
It sounds like a dare. Danny, it's a pleasure to meet you, and Thomas, you as well. Really
Definitely. Great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
He does look like Barry Gibb.
Oh.
He does. I know. That's what I'm saying. Totally looks like Barry Gibb. Danny, thank you so much on short notice. I know you're probably pretty tired, and if you want to hang out, you're more than welcome to. If you got to get going too, that works.
Yeah,
I'm going to bed.
Me too.
Yeah, I think I am going to go. It's late for me. I do have vacation day tomorrow, so I'm excited about that.
Well,
thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, dude, I really appreciate it, and congrats on your new car, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
What'd you get?
Bought a beige Volvo.
No, I bought a 2022 Hyundai Tucson. We'll see if I can make the payments and not get
Nice.
Oh, wow. I don't know if you heard the news today, but Hyundai just shut down their entire motor development division.
Huh?
They're shifting over completely to electric.
Oh,
Oh wow!
good for them.
one of the last gas ones.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that in Korea or is that North America?
That's all. That's Hyundai and Kia.
It's just amazes to me how many haters there are in the world. I don't know of anyone who has had more impact on all sorts of different things than Elon Musk has had.
I was thinking about that today. I was like, this is probably the last gas car I'll ever buy. It's kind of weird.
Yep. Well, I as soon as they're available, I'm gonna sell my Ford and buy a Cybertruck.
I would have. I mean,
the
I
problem is when there's a
driving Tesla.
national emergency, you need to drive
I don't
from
care
point A to
how
point
ugly
B.
it is. I'm gonna buy one.
I'd love to drive all electric if they just weren't. If they lowered the prices on them. But I'm sure next time around I buy a car, it'll be more
Not so bad, yeah.
The Cybertrucks are gonna be less expensive than a Ford F-150 by a lot.
The Ford F-150 Lightning is going to take a minimum of 3 years to fill all of the pre-orders.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I was
3
pretty
years.
limited on my choices. I had to just get what I could afford. I was in the 20s, so but hopefully next time around I'll be able to get something electric or something cooler. But I like the Tucson. It looks cool.
It is a very
Congrats,
nice
man.
vehicle.
Congrats.
It's a
Thank
very
you.
nice vehicle. You're going to be happy with that.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to say the girl thing, being the lone girl here, because you guys are talking cars, but I can't even get a dining table right now. Seriously, I cannot even get a dining table. I have no table. I got rid of mine. I gave it to my parents. Like,
Can you get one used?
Yeah.
Go to a used store.
Yeah, I can, but I mean,
If something used or older, it's actually made out of wood. It's not imported
But
from
why is it
China.
hard to get a
Yeah.
table?
well,
Yeah, my son was selling furniture and he quit because everything was like 3 months, 6 months out. People kept canceling their orders and he couldn't make any money as a furniture salesman.
and the whole shipping container issue. And then there's something going on in China with production. I don't know what's happening there. Do you know what that is, Thomas? You said something about production earlier. Do you know
The chips in the cars. I've been going to all kinds of dealerships.
Oh, yeah.
They don't even have cars for me to test drive, let alone sell me.
Yeah.
So it was real hard for me.
Well, there's a
Hyundai
chip shortage.
actually
That's
had
why
a-
they're not. There's the overall shortage of semiconductors in the whole world for what's been going on because everything's trying to shift towards auto with electric, which then takes a lot more chips. And if the capacity wasn't there before that, and then you have an entire industry trying to adopt and start having all these additional needs, where's all the additional
Well, and
product
everyone
gonna
was
come from?
wording
That's
on
why
that. On that.
Tesla, like Apple, pre-purchased their semiconductors for years in advance. So they've got the capacity, and they're going to get the stuff that nobody else is because, well, they put up the money up front.
Yep.
And this was years in the making. I mean, everyone knew this was coming. You could plan for it if you had the money and the time. It sucks, but it is what it is.
Just so you know, all the automotive, the big three in the United States are setting up companies to build chips here, just in case anything ever happens like that.
We
again.
already have TSMC. They're going to have 6, I think, factories down in Arizona now. It started with one.
It's great. It's
Now it's
terrific.
going to 6. I think.
Arizona's a good place to build chips.
There was only 2 companies in the world that were building the chips for the vehicles. One was in China, one was in Japan, and that's where all the chips came from. And when the pandemic hit, both the companies shut down. One had a fire that burnt down and put the automotive industry anywhere from 9 to 12 months behind.
Oh, they just went all in on
ridiculous.
just-in-time inventory, and they didn't listen to all of the lessons that Toyota learned when they perfected just-in-time inventory. And so it's just people half listened and half did it.
And Toyota has like barely any cars right now. I went to Toyota; they didn't have anything, but they sell very fast also. But they just don't have the product that they want either.
You couldn't pay me to drive a Toyota.
I tried to go in there. I was looking at the RAV4.
Come on, you're not driving a Prius, Dave? You seem like a Prius guy.
No, Thomas, that's for you in Seattle.
Oh, hell no, I would never.
I've had a lot of
have one
cars,
of
man,
those.
but Toyotas
I
have
love
usually been
Prius.
the most
I love
reliable.
my Prius. Priuses are genius. I love them. I'm
Well,
saying
of course.
it's 3 a.m.
You're a
So
hippie in Toronto.
the stuff behind the Prius was done by PRI, Incorporated in California, and licensed to General Motors, who partnered with Toyota, and so you get the idea. Anyway, Elon Musk was an intern there. That's
Say
where
that.
he learned.
Interesting.
Elon Musk was an intern at
Oh,
PRI, where the underlying technology for the Prius was developed. Look, I'm telling you, he was everywhere.
Wow, he's such an incredible person. He's a fascinating person. He's a weird person.
Yeah, but
Fascinating. Yeah,
who isn't? So
We
am
are-
I.
weird.
I'm gonna
is good.
go, guys. Have a good night. All right. It was
Yeah,
great
see
to
ya.
meet everybody.
See ya
Take it
later.
easy, man.
Hey,
Gotta
Danny.
go. Good night,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Good night, Sinead.
bye.
Highly
Thomas,
functional
John,
Asperger's.
see ya.
Yes, highly
Guys.
functional. Let's just take Danny out of here so that because he wants to leave there. And then there were 3, and Sinead's gone. Then there were 2. How deep is your love, John?
Honestly, I don't even know what that's a reference to. I assume that's a song.
Son of a bitch. Hold on.
Oh, write that time down.
No. I can't
happened?
even. Oh, I'm just trying to find my editing points here. Undo. There we go. I'm like way behind here. Can't find my editing points. Let's try that. Because somebody has to take a shit out of the reel.
Yeah.
This is like the 10th Russian bot we've booted tonight.
Really?
Really.
Yeah. Like 10 of them tonight.
You're getting popular, Dave.
Oh my
growing up.
goodness.
So, Dave, so you know,
Yeah.
on your YouTube site, in the back end, you've got a page for monetization. You can go to your super chats and super stickers, and you can click on or bring up a list of everybody who donated for the show, so you don't have to write anything down.
But I like writing it down.
That is cool. I didn't know you could do that. That's nice.
Oh yeah, automation.
Gotta love it.
I'm old school, okay? I still use a pen.
Actually,
You
don't even have
automate the mundane so you have more time to do the awesome.
I just want to find it.
Automation is about getting rid of repetitive things that you do the same way every day anyway.
I'm just happy that I found the edit. on that point, and then I got to go way over here. Hold on, because
They're true. We're all going to be scared.
Kept away from us for so long. Sorry, you pulled it out of me, science. Bob, it's good.
this rush,
It's the
right?
shit that we've needed to know.
There it is.
Going to be scared to death. Untold or true.
I know it just gives you this.
That's been gone and kept. It's the
Right.
shit that we've needed to know. Shit that we've needed to know. Sorry, shit that we've needed to know. Sorry, it's the
Right.
shit that we've needed to know. Sorry, it's shit.
There we go.
Oh boy,
I got it, Thomas.
the entire
Don't
show.
you worry. I got it. I got it, Thomas. Don't you worry.
That was so funny.
Your shit is gone. Hey, Flat Earther, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Mm-hmm. How was your show tonight, Tom?
Good. Good audience. Good subject matter. The panel.
Any interesting questions?
Fuck! I did it again.
What do you do? Oh, his soundboard's giving him issues.
Yeah,
He's-
he froze.
Yeah. His board is giving him issues tonight.
It sucks.
I hate when that happens, man. Technological issues that you can't control suck. Jason Pearl, how you doing? Hey, Cherry Pepsi Mike, what are you still doing awake? Steam Train Mark, how's later today looking? Please give us an update. We'd appreciate that. So if I go there, I cut it off by just.
What are you gonna do if you ask one of these days that and then, like they're like, it's burning, it's all burning, and then it's like click. It's like, well, that was
Well,
Australia.
Whatever happens. All right. So what? I'm on number 4 here. So there's that right there. How's it going, Johnny?
Oh, it's going pretty good, man. How about you?
What put you into the giggles during the show? Trying to have a serious conversation.
Just some of the comments we were making were just cracking me up, man. I was just laughing.
Oh God. And the best part is the best comment I made tonight went over everyone's head. Well, most people.
Which one was that?
About the only thing that just our prime minister cares about is what socks he will wear.
I thought that was awesome. I love that one.
Hey, Bobby Chizzy, what's going on, man? All right, so there's that one. I liked that comment. By the way, I'm wearing my brand new NASA socks today.
Ooh,
And
NASA socks.
socks.
Do they
Good
do
three
they hide any secrets in your feet or?
Oh, I don't. These ones don't, but I have 2 other pairs of NASA socks.
Be awesome if they had a bunch of secret compartments you could hide like second feet and stuff.
Oh God, I hope so. That would be so cool.
Stay true to their.
Yes. Triple Ack. There's no such thing as yes. All political talk is banned from the chat room unless you are talking about Justin Trudeau. Then it's allowed. Because trust me, America, you don't want this. You
But
do
he's
not
so
want this
pretty.
at all. Don't even get me started, John.
He is
Don't
pretty.
even
I
get me
mean, give him that.
Yes, that is the only. If you guys want to insult, what did Fab say? Dave, I almost bought you some socks for a next Christmas present, but it was too late to get it you in time. They involve tacos. Oh, thank you for thinking of me, Fab.
Yeah,
Back.
I've got to make sure
He's
not
back.
to press the freaking volume button again.
What's going on with your board?
No, it's a software mixer, and I'm running on a Hackintosh, and it's got a really bad. The software mixer has problems with Cordy Audio, which is the underlying audio system. And if I don't touch anything and adjust all the audios, it's fine. and I've just got to leave it alone and deal with it.
What program are you using?
I'm using an application called Loopback Audio.
I use what is this called? Voice Meter.
You're on a PC. I'm on a Mac.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's basically like Voice Meter, but I get a UI where I can go ahead and like drag all these lines to all these different things and create virtual devices by taking devices and connecting their outputs into different. It's really cool. Yeah.
That's neat.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
So where's that at? So basically, if I were to, where's that at? Here, John, right here.
Oh, that is so awesome.
So basically, move it over a little bit so you can see a little bit better. On one side, I have my virtual audio devices that I've created. And then I can take the different sources, which are applications or hardware or whatever it is, and I can assign those different devices that I can turn on or off into channels that I can then output to different hardware devices or through software.
This is why I have to stay with you, Dave, and I can never break out on my own. Because if I ever start getting into this stuff, it's going to be the end of my. I'm going to spend so much bloody money, and I'm going to get so into it, and it's going to consume my life, and I know it. And so I cannot get into this stuff. That looks like so much fun.
It is. It's literally dragging the stuff together, making it all get there now. The only app that I know of I'm aware of on the PC that's like that is Elgato makes one, and they ship it with their Wave mics, whatever it is, and that's the only one that's even close to what I just showed you. But it's real easy. It's fun for going and put it together.
Mm-hmm. You go.
Cool.
You go.
So it's like your hardware board that you've got going, Dave. But it's.
Do you want to see my $2,500 paperweight?
Yeah.
Hold on. Here is my $2,500 paperweight.
Ooh, it's pretty.
So it needs to get repaired.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, so
what died?
Wow, those are all buttons. Oh my god!
What died on it, Dave?
Yeah.
What died? Is it power supply go out?
What?
Did your power supply die?
One of the fuses blew.
Well, that's easy to fix.
One of the fuses blew inside.
Dude, I want to get one of those used, what's broken, and use it and adapt it to a kid's toy. Do you realize how much fun like a 2-year-old would have with all those buttons and switches? Like that's like a switch button paradise.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
See, to me, like it should be like one big display, and everything should just be software switches that you can just like slide with your fingers. Like, why do hardware? Like, why do physical things?
Because it's classic.
But you can't change them. They're stuck like that forever. Yeah.
$2,500 paperweight.
Oh, not for long.
I don't know if I would actually bring that big one back. Because this one that I'm using right here.
Ooh, little.
Yeah, my audio levels and sound is much cleaner.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hold on. Scary times there.
You're getting better. Interesting.
Yeah. So.
Huh. And what does that box do again?
It's a audio mixer.
So it takes in audio samples from different sources and blends them into one target?
Well, we direct it into different areas where you want it to go into different channels, right?
Okay, so it's like it's basically like a data switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So That was kind of fun. It was nice being able to pot up and pot down, pot up and pot down.
What's pod up? What's pod?
The little keys on the bottom there, radio talk. They're called pots, right?
Ah. Interesting.
Yeah. No, Dave won't be smashing any electronics. Dave's gonna see how much that's gonna cost to get them fixed, and then it'll go straight on the selling, on the sales board.
Yeah.
See who wants to pick it on
eBay.
up. Yep, if it's fixable.
Probably anything's fixable these days, for the most
I
part.
hope so.
That looks like something that could definitely be repaired based on its size and everything.
It's only 3 years old.
Yeah, I mean, unless it was like damaged, like because of like water damage or something, like anything else, any component that dies the way it would have died under your usage, it's probably going to be not.
And it's probably caused by the power supply.
Yep. Yeah.
Power supplies are a pain in the butt for sure.
And they're cheap. And they fail.
Well, we'll see where it goes. We'll get that fixed.
That's why most
Gotcha.
deep space satellites don't just use decaying radiation.
Yeah.
Wow. I was very thankful George Knapp provided a statement tonight. That was awfully classy of him.
That was. I was glad he did it, and I was glad that he was engaging with people like that, and I was glad that he asked because I think of everyone in the community. He's the only person that could really call him a friend, and for anyone, losing a friend versus losing an acquaintance or a celebrity or any other category of people is such a different experience, and so
exactly,
it really should be in many ways. We really should be trying to see all of this through George's eyes.
Well, there's a lot that can be done through George's eyes. Could you imagine if George actually reported on half of what he knows? God,
would have taken him years.
I'd be more curious to hear. I want to be more curious to hear what he speculates. I'm curious. I want to know where he reaches. Like where does he take leaps in his mind where he doesn't know for sure where there's much to hold that up. Like where are his leap points based on what he knows?
Yeah.
Well, I have no idea, man.
I think I'm hitting my brick wall, Dave.
Well, get the hell out then.
What time zone are you in, Thomas?
Huh?
He's in our time zone.
Yeah.
You're in our time zone, right?
I started 2 hours before you guys did.
Yeah, he's been on the air. He's been on the air for 5.5 hours.
No, that's right. Yeah, no, I saw part of it. You looked very spunky earlier.
Yeah. Thanks, appreciate it. Not spunky, just bring questions up.
Another Russian bot.
Doll, let me tell you, such a deal. All right, Dave. John, audience, you have a great one.
Always a pleasure, sir. Have a good evening.
And as always, eyes open, no fear, and we'll catch you on the flip side. See ya, guys.
See you tomorrow on your show,
Night,
Tom.
Thanks, guys. Later.
My goodness. Dave's planning a Vegas meetup. Yes. April 22nd to 24th in Las Vegas. Thomas L. Fessler. I'll type it in here. There you go. Oh, of course. Cancel. Yes. Transfer. Let's do this thing. Can we? Thank you. Man, what a night. Busy night.
Yeah, it was a good panel though. I'm serious. Like, I would get nervous on panels for people who have passed because and you just never know how it's going to be handled and so forth. And that was cool.
416. Leave the Ukrainians out of this, man. We're innocent. We are innocent.
So has your kid been playing with his Oculus?
Oh, yeah. I played it for the first time tonight.
Oh yeah, what'd you think?
I was playing a fishing game tonight.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Good. Good. I made it to round 2.
Okay.
Fishing
What'd you
in some
think?
swamp. Fishing in some swamp here.
Yeah, but what'd you think?
1 second here, John.
Yeah.
Hey, guys in the chat room, cut the racism comments, please. I don't need to get flagged by YouTube for the R word, if you don't mind. All right. Thank you. I would appreciate that. And give me a second here. Let's bring it on down, people. We're not doing anything like that. I'm starting to remove comments here. So anybody who uses the word racist in the chat room, your comments are being deleted. Reason why is I don't need to be flagged by YouTube, which goes through all sorts of algorithms in the chat and on the show in order to see who to punish and who not to. And I'm not getting punished by it. So let's just drop the topic. We don't have to go down that road. We never go down that road in my chat room. So let's just rock and roll on it. All right. Everybody, it was a hot button topic tonight. We get that. All right. And, we can be better. We can all be a little better on that. So we're all at a 10. Let's bring it down to a 5 or a 6 at minimum or at maximum, preferably a 2 to 3. I would appreciate. And in the end, it's my chat room, and I'm the one who makes the rules. This is a Daveocracy, Davianism, whatever you want to call it. So let's just have some fun with it. Doug, do kids really play pond hockey in Canada? Yes. I can't wait to get out on the lake and go for a skate. Maybe I will this weekend when the temperature isn't about freezing my nuts off, which it is right now. So once it warms up to at least minus 10 degrees Celsius, I will be heading out to the lake to go fishing. Fishing? Playing hockey, that is. Yeah, the lakes around here probably have anywhere from about minimum 8 to 10 inches, maximum foot and a half of ice on them right now. You could drive on the lakes. Totally drive on the lakes right now. I don't do it. Every year around March, there's vehicles that fall into lakes around here. It's kind of cool. Of course I could skate PRM Productions. Sherry, you only need about an inch and a half of ice in order to skate.
Oh,
That's
that
all.
reminds me, Dave. Dave, how much snow did you say you were getting? I thought you were getting like 6 inches or something like that.
Let's see. It snowed from about 9 o'clock this morning until, we got about 9 hours of snow today.
And in that much time, how much snow will you get?
We got about 3 to 5 inches today.
So we got 17 feet in Tahoe.
7 feet of snow?
17.
17 feet?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Whistler Blackcomb would be around there.
Okay. That's what I was getting confused. Like when you were talking about, like, because I was like, wait, I'm used to like snow being measured in feet, like not inches. But yeah, you're talking about the top of the mountain. So
yeah, up on our mountains here, it gets about that. It's pretty cool.
I miss snowboarding. It's been a long time.
God, I love my hockey skates. I do. I can't wait to get them on. Can't wait to get out there. What now? I got to check the temperature here. Let's go back to Celsius for a second here. Oh, wow. This weekend I could totally go. Sunday would be the best. Oh, we're in a snowfall warning right now. Oh, that was 9 hours ago. And, oh, yeah, we're still in it. It's supposed to snow all day tomorrow and all day Thursday. Thank God for the weekend. It's going to warm up for three days. Then it's right back down to the frigging cold again.
That's what you get for living near Santa Claus.
Philip Blair, no, I don't do the polar bear swim. That's just dumb. That's just dumb.
Okay, good. So you do have some limits.
Oh, no, I'm not going in a friggin' lake. That's cold. Kidding me?
Yeah. Don't they get out pretty quick, though?
Pardon me?
They get out quick, though. Don't they just jump in and jump out? I mean, I guess they are naked, and it is really cold water.
Well, not for me, man. Not for me. Oh, dude, Grant. See, Grant here lives like 2 hours north of me.
Ah.
And he's like, my neighbors keep an area groomed for hockey practice. You would love it. Totally, man.
That's
totally
awesome. That is awesome.
Hey, Witchy, how you doing?
That is really cool.
Oh, yeah. I actually really... There's something about skate. I never skated outside until I moved up here.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I mean, I never have. So.
And so, like living in the Lower Mainland near Vancouver, it was always too warm for the lakes and the water areas to freeze. So we never got to skate outside.
Oh, I take that back. Actually, I haven't been skating outside, but my wife and daughter have, because they freeze a small little lake in downtown San Jose for Christmas every year, so that kids can go ice skating on an outdoor lake sort of thing, outdoor pond, and so you get kind of a little bit of a taste of it, Nothing like being out in the wilderness, like where you're all around the trees, like like you're in some damn Winnie the Pooh book. But at least you get to experience skating outside.
Tomorrow night on the show, because this one wore me out, people. Tomorrow night on the show, we're going to have a UFO Podcasters of the Year show. So I brought in some UFO podcasters from around North America to come on in and talk about the year that was in ufology. We're going to spend all night talking about it. And then we will get to, obviously, the UFO report with John. And we will get to Shirky Poo's news and the last half hour of the show. And then, it's going to be a good one. Going to be a good one tomorrow. Let me just bring that down a little bit so you can actually see me. There you go. Hi, I'm Dave. And big thank you tonight to our great panel. Tough night in the chat room for our wrenches, but you guys did amazing tonight. And want to say thank you to everybody who contributed to the super chat. Nicola, Thomas, Leward, Jefferson, Toe Tag, Bob, Waylon, Mandingo, Catfish, Rob, Eli, John, Rex, and Dijo. Really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And thank you so much for your support. Excuse me. John, thank you for joining the panel.
My
Big
pleasure.
thank you to Danny Silva, Sinead Whelehan, Bob McGwier, Thomas Fessler, for hanging on out. Spooky Morales, it is almost time to warm up that trumpet, my friend, because we're going to be out of here in about 30 seconds. Big thank you to everybody in our chat room tonight. Thank you to all the veterans who are taking part in our chat room. You always got a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio. And we are going to say goodnight to all of you because we're going to do this in almost 20 and a half hours from now. We will all see you back here. Hi, Thurston Howell III and Witchy. But it is time for us to say good night. Spooky, fire it up, buddy.